Intercultural Center.
Welcome to Women's Club for International Women's Day 2025. My name is Nicole Farid, one of the board members at London Intercultural Centre, and it's really a pleasure to be hosting this event today. We are recording the session, so as people sort of join on and off, if you've got the chance to stay for the full thing, fantastic. If not, we will have a recording that can be shared afterwards. So today we are all here to celebrate remarkable contributions of women across the world. We will have phenomenal presentations, I'm sure, around topics like leadership, technology and digital landscape, mental health and resilience, and many more. So thank you very much to all of our speakers today, who I'm sure are going to inspire and empower all of us over the next 2.5 hours. But before we start, I wanted to get us a little bit warmed up, and we're going to play a little game. So what I'm going to do, if you can just quickly write in the chat, I think you can see the screen already. It should say the Women's Club 2025. What I'm going to do is display some pictures of some incredible women across history, because the entire point of today is to celebrate women's achievements, right? And why did I choose these particular women? Because while they did some amazing things for the world, sadly, not many people know them, or maybe you will, but we'll find out shortly. So let's start. I'm going to show you the first lady who's done remarkable things. I do apologize, it's a little bit blurry, the picture. I'm not sure what's going on with my graphics, but there you go, that's technology. So can we write in the chat if anybody knows who this lady is? Go on, don't be shy. Let me know. Any guesses? No? There we go. This is the point I'm making, right? So this lady here is, let me just move on to the next one. She is Dr. Xian Shengwu, a Chinese-American physicist. And why I've chosen this lady, she actually proved Einstein's theory wrong. She conducted experiments that proved the fundamental physics law wrong. And guess what? Her male colleagues won the Nobel Prize for this. She did not. So just think about that, right? Moving on to the next lady. Anybody know who this is? Again, please feel free to guess, or if you know, write in the chat. Getting some guesses here. Rosa. Amazing. Dr. Roberta Katherine Johnson. Yes, well done. So, Katherine Johnson, a mathematician, worked on calculations at NASA. And if it wasn't for Katherine, the Apollo 11 would not have been able to land on the moon. Because of her and her calculations, she made this possible. And in the meantime, you know, overcoming racial and gender discrimination in her role. So absolutely phenomenal. Lady number 3. Anybody? Ah, there we go. Shireen says she watched the movie about her. Yeah, her team was amazing. Absolutely. So, lady number 3, another absolutely, thank you. Mangwi, we have Wangari Maathai. Exactly. Fantastic. I'm glad you know. Yes, a Kenyan political environmental activist, actually. She's known for planting, imagine this, 50 million trees, and the first African woman to win a Nobel Prize. She founded the Green Belt movement, empowering women to fight deforestation. So there we go. Incredible work done by another woman. Now, this lady, I'm sure a lot of people know. She's a little bit more famous, but perhaps not for something that I'm about to talk about. Anybody know who she is? So this is a very famous American actress, Mrs. Hedy Lamarr. Thank you, Michael. Exactly. So, American actress, while she's known for her fantastic acting, she may not be known for the fact that she was also an inventor. And she is actually the one, or one of a few people, who created Wi-Fi. Imagine. So if it wasn't for Hedy and her team, they co-invented the frequency happening technology, or sorry, frequency hopping technology, which is used today in Wi-Fi, in GPS, and in Bluetooth. So if it wasn't for Hedy Lamarr, we would not be on this call right now, most likely. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, you get the point I'm trying to make, right? And today's event is really about coming together and celebrating some more phenomenal women, right? And with that, I introduce you to our first magnificent speaker, Yulia Stark, who will be actually our keynote speech. She is president at the EWA, European Women's Association, and has been named top 50 global inspirational women. Yulia Stark is an accomplished serial entrepreneur, board member, and investor with over 17 years of experience. She has a proven track record of building successful business ecosystems by forging strategic and mutually beneficial partnerships across the globe. With that, I hand to you, Yulia. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Today is indeed a special day. And I have my roots from, my mom was Ukrainian. I remember 8th of March was the biggest day of the year, where you as a woman, you're even like a little girl, you're celebrated with flowers, little presents. And as I remember from my childhood, it was one of the, well, most important days of my year, besides my birthday. So congratulations to all, and also to men in this group. We've got Nick and Michael, I see, and Sam for the support. And when I was asked to share some of the stories or inspiration with you, I was thinking, what are we sometimes missing as women, especially women in business? And although, as you have just shown, we are well, as smart, as accomplished sometimes as women, we are often not as well connected to the right opportunities. And so for today's 10-minute talk, I just wanted to share some of the insights that help me to build something that I find valuable, not only for myself, but mainly for the women in our ecosystem. And as a background, as you just mentioned, Nicole, so my background is investment banking. And I studied business management here in Belgium. And now, by the way, I'm in Belgium and the sun is shining, which, trust me, is quite rare in Belgium, as it's raining most of the time. But working in investment banking learned me something quite interesting. And it's not about numbers. It's not about trading. It was more about the importance of trust, because money loves trust. And when I think back, I was the youngest and the only female in the team. And you can imagine this cliche of 50 plus old white men. And I'm the youngest. I was 24 in my team, managing the same investment portfolios as they were managing. And you could feel that that there was not really an acceptance of me as a youngest in the team. But I felt I had to man up. I had to be one of the guys and be as cool as them and go for drinks with them. And quite fast, my mom actually, she took me aside. She said, girl, you don't. It's not about you being one of the guys. It's actually about embracing your natural skills. And my mom, to give you some background, she was one of the most, I think, soulful people I knew. She passed away 2 years ago, but she taught me something very important, the value of trust that comes through connection. And when I look back at my career and still, I realized the reason why I was successful in things I was doing was not because I was the smartest in the room or had the best idea or the project or the product. It was because I had a certain love for people and the human connection. And there are a few books I'll share with you today that actually inspired me to dive deeper in the psychology of human mind. But quite quickly, I realized the natural skills that my mom had, she could connect to any human being, from president of Ukraine at that time to our household help. The way she treated them with so much love and care was admirable. And so she was doing that actually unconsciously. But when I went into the business and I left investment banking in 2009 and quite naively started my first company, it's called Business Bridge International. It still, by the way, exists, but I really believed that I could build business bridges for people between West and Eastern Europe at that time. And the key to success of that company was actually things that my mom was doing quite naturally. And it was about connecting. And connection through the genuine connection that builds trust. And if I look back on what women in my community of European Women Association are often lacking, is not their maybe knowledge or skill set. It's more about networking, relevant networks that open the right strategic doors for your project or company. So I started to read some books about that, like how come we are still under the 2% of the VC money that goes to female founders? Because in 2013, I founded the first company that was an incubation program here in Belgium for female founders, small business owners. And at the end, they were quite talented and the products were amazing, but somehow they were stuck at these very small to medium-sized companies. And then I would go out, as many of you, and try to network, and honestly wasted a lot of my evenings away from my children on cheap wine and cheese in dusty hotel rooms. And then I learned a lot from the guys. Guys, somehow, they knew how to monetize their relationships in a very strategic and quite authentic ways, creating win-win situation for all parties involved. So learning from them, and there was a book that I read, and probably you heard about that, by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Lovely book. If you haven't read, so please do. If you have, please read it again, because there are few rules or laws that he describes that actually changed my business trajectory after I've read it a few times. And one of the main lessons he's Carnegie providing is shut up and listen. He asks you when you go out, stop pitching, stop selling, just listen. Listen to what people are saying, because they are actually exposing things that are important to them. And if you would listen carefully, you will understand the challenges people are facing or what is important for them. And then you can follow up one-on-one over a coffee or a lunch and provide potentially a solution with your service or product. And so that strategy became so easy to follow because naturally, well, I love people. So that was one of my, I would say, tools that helped me to connect and ask more questions. And psychologically, people like to talk about themselves. And if you allow them when you're networking to talk about how amazing they are, or after a while, you can ask them questions like, what is your biggest challenge? This is when you can find the key and the bridge to that what you're doing. So what I've seen with women is that we tend to waste a lot of time on networking, but not monetizing that. And so I'm just sharing very subjectively, by the way, that's just my strategy and it might help you. And there are different ways to connect and network. I'm a mom, so I'm trying to be efficient when I leave my kids behind. So if you start going out and networking, I strongly advise you to do first research. Where is your target audience sitting? Where are the people or decision makers you want to connect to? And if you are really honest, probably 70% of these networking events you'll be able to eliminate. That's the beauty of it. And stay with the kids or your husband or your family and friends rather than, again, having this cheap wine at a networking event. So try to first understand where are they. That's the first step. And secondly, most of the decent networking events, they have a registration page where you have to provide the company or the website and you position at the company, right? So the cool thing about that, you can actually reach out to the organizers and ask for that list. GDPR-wise, they won't give you the email addresses or the phone numbers, but you don't need that. Just having the company, the position, the name is more than enough for you to do your homework. And then go to LinkedIn. This is the beautiful tool that everybody of us are using here. Go to LinkedIn and do some homework. You can even proactively reach out to these people saying, hi, I'm looking forward to meet you next week or even tonight in person at this networking event. And then you'll see to whom are they connected. And then, ladies and gentlemen, you know the importance of, you can reach out to people directly for sure. But I've learned that it's also quite important if you are introduced by a trusted person to that gentleman or woman. So also be mindful, who are you connected to? And is there a relevant person in their network that they're connected to? And ask them to introduce you. That way you are building trust from head on and you're already halfway there. So that's another strategy that helped me a lot. And especially ladies, in certain cultures, it's even more important than in others. In the last 5 years, I've been mainly working in the Middle East, in UAE to be more specific. And it's actually quite tribal culture. For them, leadership is quite important. So if somebody speaks well about you or introduces you of a certain level to the other person, already you are standing out. So use these cultural little tricks, because at the end, things that works in US do not work in Dubai. Be mindful about that when you're networking. People in certain regions are not as transactional. For example, in the UAE, when you would be, or in the Middle East in general, when you are working with the locals, they are expecting you to build rapport and trust first before you jump into, hi, by the way, I'm selling this. So my advice would be, very humbly again, just to ask questions and listen and create a rapport with them. And so once you've done your homework, you understand who's there, you probably already will understand that out of this 120 people, only 15 of them are relevant. And you don't have to waste time on all others. And even better, try to reach out to the organizer of the event. This is the cool thing. They know who's who. And that's the thing. If you would build trust and relationship with the people who are organizing this kind of events, you're saving yourself a lot of time. So that's another strategy. So you actually research who they are, you do your due diligence on the networking, you connect to the relevant people, and you connect to the organizer of the networking event. And then probably you're exchanging cards, right? Nowadays, depends again of the country, you can receive a business card. If you have that on paper, write little things down, like, okay, maybe they had a funny mustache or a beautiful red dress, whatever helps you to remember. But also personal information. If you let people talk, they will share with you, oh, by the way, I had a baby, or I just bought myself a dog. And try to remember these little details and add that in the contact details of the person. You'll be surprised how valuable it nowadays is for people to receive a little message, happy birthday to your child, or congrats on your startup, or congratulations on your anniversary. So these little things are actually quite valued. Why? If you look around and think about all the networking events you've been to, people tend to pitch stuff to you or offer you or think how they immediately be transactional. And these kind of profiles we tend to forget quite fast. But if you would connect from human to human and really care, because people feel the bullshit, by the way, if you would really, really care and ask questions, they will remember you. And then the connection was amazing. You know, guys, what I've got, I don't know if you can see that here. You see, this is my QR code of my WhatsApp. And in the Middle East, people do a lot of networking in business through WhatsApp. It's not really done maybe in Belgium, but I know in UAE it is, and even in Saudi. And so what you connect on WhatsApp quite quickly, and you send a selfie like, it was an amazing conversation. I'd love to follow up on that. So it's not about the quantity, but of the quality of the connection, genuine one you're making. So make sure you're making or investing your time in the good ones. And this is what does not really happen, us following up, because I know we are busy. We are businesses to run, kids to raise, household to manage. I'm advising you to create a list of the most influential people in your network that could be the key to other opportunities. And I often do that around December when I'm sending personal Christmas wishes. And I was actually doing it last year, December, and I realized I only have eight people who could connect me to the rest of the world. I didn't have to follow up with 30,000 followers on my LinkedIn. I just had to invest in genuine relationship with these eight. And I think when you match on values match, that becomes much more easier, of course. So you're still less transactional. But nowadays, we are living in such a fast world where everybody's trying to sell something. And then when you stand out by really following up and care, people tend to remember. And that's one of, I would say, probably best lessons I've learned from Dale Carnegie book, is where he's saying that at the end, we all want to be loved and seen and acknowledged. And if you let people feel that or give them that feeling, automatically they want to give you something back. So very simple steps, by the way, that I'm sure you already know all about that, but try to put that now like very consciously into practice. And this way you will see you're saving yourself a lot of time, you're focusing on the relevant people, you're following up properly, and you're using little digital tools to remind you about things that are important to them. Giving a little example, a friend of mine in Germany, she bought herself a puppy. And she said, well, I'm quite busy. I cannot travel with you to Dubai. I got a puppy. So we have this conversation, and she's literally in love with that little pound of love. And I remember I sent her a basket with some toys and cookies for the puppy. And she said, gosh, that meant so much to me. 2 years later, that little act of kindness, because I love dogs myself, led to a relevant introduction for me to a royal family member in Saudi Arabia. So just these little things, ladies and gentlemen, can actually make a big difference when it comes to networking. And that goes beyond. So for example, when you're fundraising, because we run an acceleration program with the Ministry of Economy in the UAE, I always advise to our members of the cohort, please start building relationship and trust with the investors before you need them. Don't run around hungry when you need the money. And that's what doesn't happen. And this is why guys are so strategic in. They have this brotherhood and clubs where they regularly go to, connect to. And then when they need something, it's just one phone call away. And that's something probably we should do more as well, be more strategic and conscious about monetizing our network, not being too shy about it. Because if you know you're bringing value, well, it makes sense that you reach out to people that trust you. Another thing is, it's not only about who introduces you to certain people, it's also how they speak about you when you're not there. And that goes back to trust, and it takes time. So unfortunately, there is no hack I could share with you. There is like, that's how you're attracting investments. But building that over time, investing it now in relevant circles so that you are at the right table at the right time will save you a lot of time and money in the future when you're growing your business. Because as understood from the message I received also from Nicole is you are all professionals over here. And so you probably also have families and households to run. So my invitation to you is be more, intentional, I would say, when it comes to networking, and more strategical. And then in the last step, I would advise you to find ways to collaborate. The way that European Women Association became great wasn't because I had more time than others or I was smarter than others. Not at all. I was surrounded by amazing, beautiful, smart women. in different countries. And so when we said, okay, let's reach out, let's scale, I had so many women saying, I'd love to be one of your ambassadors in Greece, in Italy, in Ukraine, in UK, or Dubai. So you've built that network already. And then I know so many women and men, by the way, who are quite connected, but not leveraging or not growing their businesses because they're limited in time, which we all are. And so I built a system where, for example, I would pitch a certain project to the government, because most of the time we work with the governments. I don't have people on my payroll to roll out these international projects, but I do have an amazing network of smart women. And so what I would do is, okay, if we are looking for experts in AI, experts in technology or blockchain, for example, I already have a list of women who could contribute to that project, and we work on project base. And after 6 to 9 months, or even 3 years, depending on the country, we finalize the project, and everybody is fairly paid based on the contribution they're making. So that way you can grow your impact, because I think that's what inspires us in a way. You can have a bigger impact without having this financial burden on your shoulders through your trusted network out there. So ladies, I think I wanted to be very short, because I know that's what helped us and my women in the network to scale and grow faster, is by being more conscious of how they use and monetize the network. I'm on LinkedIn. You can always reach out to me directly if you got any questions. Nowadays, I'm based mainly in the UAE, but once in 3 months, I'm back in Europe. So happy to have a coffee if times allows, or otherwise we'll have a digital one. So thank you for your time. I see some amazing and known faces here, which is good to see you again. And thank you for this, time that you invest in. So thank you, Nicole, for having me as well.
Thank you so much, Yulia. And I love that about what you said about we need to start listening, right? There's a reason we've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. I always say that.
Yeah.
So very important. Thank you so much. Just for the audience as well, if you do have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. We can kind of come back to them at the end. And if not, we can direct them to the speakers and get you an answer later. Okay, so with that, we move on to our next wonderful speaker, Yeşim Engin. She will talk about challenges and breakthroughs in leadership roles. Yeşim is global executive, leadership and team coach, OD consultant, organization and relationship systems coach, and a mentor. Pleasure to have you, Yeşim. I pass over to you.
Thank you, Nicole. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm not in my regular desk. I'm connecting from somewhere else today, but I would like to greeting you from sunny London. And it's an honor to be with you here today to celebrate the strength, leadership, and all amazing features of being woman. As most of you, I'm carrying so many hats. Actually, I'm a mother, I'm a business person, I'm a wife, I'm a sister to someone, I'm a daughter to my parents, I'm friends of other people, and I'm a leader in general in my whole life. Actually, as you may experience yourself, leadership is something really integrated with being a woman, carrying so many hats. Dealing with so many tasks in life. Approximately 14 years ago, I became a mother, and then when my baby was 1.5 years old, I had to go back to my professional role. I was in Dubai that time, and it was a very demanding senior leadership position. When I started back in the company, nothing has changed, to be honest, even during the time that I was using my pregnancy period away from business. But most of the things changed with me. In the mornings, I was leaving home with the desire to go back to my routine, my professional title, my own space that I had been feeling comfortable for many years. But during the office hours, I was always calling home, checking baby, asking my mom and helper if he's okay. He was just 1.5 years old. And it was the biggest struggle and psychological period that I cannot forget. And when I decided to have the second child, actually, I had already difficulties dealing with, business, work life, personal life, like juggling around all these titles that I'm carrying. And I couldn't use even breastfeeding allowance time dedicated to me. In the UAE, the professional careers are really demanding also. I was not able to work part-time because of being at a senior leadership role. It was the hardest time in my life. And when I decided to have the second child, I said, okay, I don't want to have the same period, same experience. So I quit my business, my professional role, and I started my own company. I was lucky enough to carry these entrepreneurship skills within myself. I was really lucky to be surrounded by all these people supporting me to start my own business. But again, it was not easy to give up my own career with a professional title, all these benefits, and struggle with setting up a new business in the UAE, where many men was more dominant in the field, by the way. I was lucky enough, I developed my business, etc. And then when my kids were, at the school age, like nursery ages at least, I said, okay, I will go back to professional life. I have an amazing CV, I have a good career, I have great network in Dubai, and always I had been connecting people within Dubai. And what happened? 1 year, I couldn't find any job. 1 year I struggled to catch my career back. Even I was not invited to one interview because of my senior leadership stage level, because of the recruitment status. The dynamics has changed in Dubai. So then I decided, okay, I will continue my own business, but change something. And then meanwhile, I met by coaching. I was coached. It really transformed my life. Then I said, okay, I will learn how to coach, at least to help my friends, other women, my kids, etc. I'm Turkish, by the way. And then I just observed there were so many Turkish women back in Dubai moved through their husband's job, and then they had to give up their own career, which is called post trailing syndrome. It is a syndrome because you have to give up your own career to be able to continue your unity as a family. And most of the times, women are the ones who has to give up their own career. They were amazing women on the paper. I know their CVs. They had amazing career back in Dubai, back in Turkey or another country. But after they moved to Dubai, they were feeling lost. So I had established Turkish Business Women Association by the help of other amazing women, by the help of coaching also. So it really transformed many women's life. At least feeling that we are not alone, right? I mean, the struggle is all of ours. And as a woman and as a leader, it doesn't end. After a while, I had to move to London with my 2 kids. My husband had to stay back in Dubai for a while. And then again, another challenge I accepted. I was this sort of single parent in a new country, feeling like a drop in an ocean with all these professional coaches, native English speaking coaches. My references, my background back in Dubai or back in Turkey didn't work in London. So I had to create everything from beginning. And I was shopping, grocery shopping, house cleaning, running the kids to activities, etc. All these, again, juggling started, although my kids had been a bit older. It took 1.5 years for me to settle in a new country as a woman. And my leadership role started coming up with my coaching business, I started developing my business in London, and then thank God, it's been getting successful every day. But it's not easy, and women's struggle is everywhere, especially as a coach working with senior leaders and mostly women, and also as a person, as a woman with a professional background. I can see the struggle firsthand every day. In a recruitment field, for example, in an interview, women are asked about their personal life more than men. 60%. This is a I think McKinsey report said 48% of women hold start positions, beginning positions. But when we go to leadership ladder, only 26% can make it as a senior leadership. I mean, I want to pull my hair. Why? Same education, same qualifications. Why women are paid less than men? They are paid almost 20% less than men at the same level. And also in the Fortune 500, it says 10.6% of CEOs are women as of 2023. How come? We are educated, we have so many skills, and we are open to develop ourselves. But even in a recruitment experience, I'm sure most of you have heard or experienced firsthand, we are being asked about our life. We are being asked about if we want to have a family soon, if we are single, if we are married, are we planning to have kids soon, pregnancy. So men are not asked about these questions. So is it fair? It is not. And even talking about these things today, 2025, in such a global, modern, developed world, how come we are still talking about inequity between men and women? So I don't want to take others' time. So I just would like to thank you for listening my own story. I'm full of all these desires to support women. Thank you so much for listening me today. And thank you so much for owning your own stories. We are better and stronger together. Thank you so much. Over to you, Nicole. Thank you.
Thank you, Yeşim. That's absolutely wonderful and so true, right? We really have such a long way to go still, and incredible how much women can take on, right? I mean, what you just said about maternity leave and how you had to go back, it touched a nerve in me because I actually returned to work next week after 10 months of maternity leave. So yeah, it's a tough you know, mentally, physically, in every way. It's definitely a challenging time. So there we go. We are strong indeed. Good. So thank you, Yeşim. With that, we move on to our next wonderful speaker. We've got Dr. Roberta Wilburn. She is going to talk about the global shift. So women at the forefront of entrepreneurship and workplace transformation. Roberta is president and principal DEI consultant at Wilburn and Associates. Associate Dean and Professor Emerita, Whitworth University, a curriculum writer and Christian Covenant Academy. Thank you so much, Dr. Roberta. Handing over to you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. And I do have a PowerPoint, so I'll need to be able to share my screen. Can you see my slides?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, let me go back. Oh, let's go. Can you see them now?
Yeah, it says you've started screen. Yes, there it is. We can see it.
Let me move that out of the way. You can see that. Okay, let me Let's see, move that out the way. Got all these little, technology is wonderful, but you know how it, okay, let's see. Can you see clearly, or do you still have something black
Yep.
showing up?
Oh, yes, there's this black box. Just
Okay, I'm
yeah,
trying to.
it's minimized now. So
Okay, great. Okay, so as she said, I'm going to be talking about women in the forefront of entrepreneurship and workplace transformation, the global shift. And I just want to share, you know, who am I? So, as she said, she told a little bit about you, but I am an award-winning DEI specialist, author, and social justice advocate. And I really love women and serving women. And I'm so very excited about this opportunity because I first went to my first International Women's Day event in Senegal in 2005. And so this is a picture of me, you can see, with some other women. And it was just the most phenomenal event that I've ever been to see all of these women who are being celebrated by the whole country. That was, I mean, in the United States, that doesn't happen. It still doesn't happen. But the whole country, everywhere you went, women were celebrated. And during that time, everyone wore white that represented, you know, what we were going, you know, through, and it was just amazing. So that was my really kind of my first introduction to an international Women's Day event. And so I am really excited about being a part of this event. So how are women shaping the workplace revolution? Number one, even though we still have a lot of struggles, women-owned businesses are growing at twice the rate of men's businesses. And that's huge, and that is amazing. And then in the United States, there are 1,800 new women-led businesses that are starting daily, not yearly, but daily. That is just really amazing because, as you know, to be able to start a company is not an easy thing. But for women to realize that now they can do it, because before we didn't believe, particularly in the United States, we could be teachers, we could be secretaries, but not anything in major ways. And then women make up a third of the high growth entrepreneurs globally. So that's also really important. China, okay, let me see. Got it. It's kind of okay. Now we're getting some of these things. So, how are women reshaping the workplace? Number one, women, we have a different mindset and a different way that we look at the world and how we look at relationships. Women are more nurturing, we're more caring, we're more relationship oriented. And so when we are in leadership positions in the workplace, then we also translate that into the things that we do, which causes increased diversity, inclusion, and the bottom line, profitability. And companies with diverse leadership teams report that they have 30% higher innovation revenues. And then women tend to advocate more for flexibility, equal pay, and for diversity, equity, and inclusion network. And so that's an important thing. And we know women still are not getting paid the same things that men are. So we still have to be out there. We have to be advocating. We have to be the voice that keeps things going. Let's see if we, what is this? Sorry, I don't know. Okay. We went a little bit too far. Not quite ready to thank. Yeah. Okay, let's see if I can go back. So sorry. Sometimes when you're doing technology, it does not do what you want it to do. Okay. Alrighty then, let's see if I can get it to go back. Okay. Please freeze. My technology. I'm going to yeah. Okay.
Dr. Roberta, do you want to try the arrow on your keyboard? The left arrow or back arrow? It doesn't work?
I am trying it and it does not seem to be working. Let me see if I can get out and okay, so that's the escape. So let me see if I can go back to okay, so now let me
Yeah,
see if
perfect.
I'm going to try to make it larger again, but if it's acting up again, we may just have to do it small. Okay. Okay, so women-led women-led businesses receive less than 30% of venture capital. So even though these are some of the barriers and challenges that women face. And so sometimes, even though we are in these spaces, we still have challenges because we're not receiving the same level of funding. There's still a persistence of gender biases. People still don't always want to give women the promotions. And I was listening to Yulia, I think it was Yulia at the beginning, and she was talking about how she has to go out with. She started out trying to go with the boys club because she wanted to be able to find out and be in the places where decision making is happening. But that's not always easy because we have to juggle so many roles and careers. And just like you see this lady, she has a young baby and she's still trying to do work. That is some of the challenges and barriers that women are still facing. Okay, but so what do we have to do is that we have to start trying to help women to build more equitable futures. So we have to really focus on women-focused investments such as program accelerators, mentorships, flexible work environments, all of those kinds of things. And I know I worked in higher education for over 35 years. And one of the things that I tried to do was I tried to mentor and empower women to help and put them in positions where they can move forward when others, because I was in a largely male dominant field, but women, they were there. But what were they doing? They were just helping the students. They were being in clerical support positions, but they weren't moving forward in leadership. And so what I did was help them get their degrees, help them move forward so that they could move into leadership roles, but they needed someone to help them. And that speaks to what has been said already, that it's really important that you build partnerships, that you collaborate, and that you build networks where we as women can support each other. But even in that support, we also need to realize that we need men, because very often men are already in these spaces and they can be wonderful sponsors to open doors for us to walk through. And so it's also interesting that now women are moving forward in ways that we did not expect like before. Women are expanding into high-tech industries such as biotech, AI. I have a friend of mine, she calls herself AI Cookie because she's specializing there. There are so many women who are moving into areas that in the past those doors were closed to them. And now we're going to be seeing more and more women moving into Fortune 500 companies and global enterprises. And they need increased support. And that goes to the policies. What policies are in our businesses? What is out there to be able to help women as they try to move forward in these areas? So the time is now. It's not just about waiting, but it's about making steps to include and move people forward. But that means that we've got to support women businesses, mentorships, funding, and advocacy, because we have to rise together. And it said, and I don't know who said it, but when you empower women, you empower a nation. Because if women are empowered, then they're going to empower their children. They're going to help empower their spouses, and they're going to help empower their communities. So this is a definite value added when we help women. And I just want to say, I have to give a shout out to one of my mentors, Jennifer, and the Lady Rebel Club, and I'm one of their ambassadors, and I write for their magazines. But the reason why I can do that is because Jennifer saw something in me and she empowered me. She helped me to get here on this stage today. And I just want to thank her. And that's what we all need to do. Each one reach one. So women thrive in our economies and can help them grow. And we can really make a positive impact in transforming workplace culture by innovation, by nurturing, and by making sure that inclusion and belonging is an everyday practice. And so I know this was a short, I didn't want to make sure I didn't go over time, but I think I just want to let you know that we're breaking glass ceilings. Women really are. There is a global shift. It's not just happening in the United States. And even though I'm in the United States, right now I'm living in Maryland, which is near the nation's capital. And there's a lot going on. There's a lot of turmoil going on right now in the United States. But it's women who are standing up, who are saying enough is enough as our rights are being taken away. But we don't have to allow that to happen. We have to continue to reach higher. We have to continue to go forward, making sure that everyone is included, respected, valued, and their voices are heard. And Shirley Chisholm, she's a former political figure in the United States in Brooklyn, where I came from. And she was the first woman to run for president in the United States. And she just said, you know, if you want a seat at the table and there's no seat for you, bring a chair. Sometimes we have to make our own seat at the table. And so I encourage you. I'm trying to empower women. I have a Struggle to Strength network and would love to have people involved with that. And also, if you would like to get some of the resources that I have compiled, because when I was doing this presentation, I really did a lot of research and found out the profound way women are transforming the workplace. And so if you scan the QR code, that will take you to where I have some resources for you, and you can connect with me at wilburnassociates.org or wilburnassociatesllc@gmail.com. And I look forward to hearing from you and connecting with you, even though we may be across the pond. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Roberta. And what a powerful statement about what did you say? If you empower a woman, it
If you
empowers a
empower women,
nation, right?
You empower a
Wow,
nation.
what a
right.
strong statement, and so true. Yeah, and I love the fact about 1,800 new businesses started by women a day in the US. I wonder what that looks like worldwide. I mean, that's just insane number, right?
Right.
Good. Thank you so much, Dr. Roberta. Great having you. So with that, I'm just a little conscious of time. We're about 16 minutes behind schedule, but we'll get there. We'll catch up. It's absolutely fine. I would like to introduce the next speaker. We've got Yeşim Nicholson, who's going to be talking about breaking gender biases, author of Ready to Quit Your Job, and the host of Your Big Career Move podcast. Please do share details of the podcast and the book, Yeşim. So thank you very much. Handing over to you.
Thank you. Nice introduction. Thank you. And thanks for having me. And what an inspiring way to spend a Saturday afternoon. Thank you so much for inviting me, first of all, but also to everybody that's joined today, because actually in the UK, I don't know how many of you are in the UK, but again, the sun is out. I know Yulia said the sun's out in Belgium, and I know those of you who are in the Middle East are like, what's the big deal? But we feel like we've been living under a grey blanket for the last 6 months. So this is a big deal for us. So thank you for those of you who are in Europe and being inside to be part of this. So I'm Yeşim Nicholson. And I just wanted to tell you about when I first left university and went for my first job, which was with a big international corporate, a telecoms business. And as you can imagine, with a telecoms business, it was very, very heavily male dominated. And, you know, I'm fresh out of university, obviously quite young, female. And I remember I had a female line manager who gave me some really good advice very, very early on in my career, which has stuck with me, you know, to this day. And I wanted to share it with you as well. She said that you can see the fact that you're female in a very male-dominated environment. You can either see it as an advantage or a disadvantage. The choice is yours. But you're going to do much better if you see it as an advantage. And, you know, because I was so young and so, I guess at the time, oblivious to the male-female gender bias at the time, I hadn't really experienced it. I wasn't really sure what she meant by that, but over time it became very obvious. And I took her advice and I took it to my advantage, because if you are a female in a very male-dominated industry or environment, you do have to work harder to get your voice heard. But then the great thing is that once your voice is heard, you're remembered and you are respected. At least that was the case in my experience. I appreciate that other people might have different experiences. But for me, the fact that I was a female in a male-dominated industry, and when I did have something to say, I said it with confidence and said it with clarity, I did stand out and people did remember me. And I did really, really well in my corporate career. So to me, that was a really, really powerful message, because how we choose to see our circumstances shapes the way we show up at work and life in general. And it kind of reminds me of a story that I'm sure you're all familiar with, but I love reminding myself of this story. So I thought I'd share it with you guys again. It's the story about the two salesmen, the shoe salesmen that are sent to a new territory where people just aren't wearing shoes. And the first salesman goes and he spends a few days, weeks there. And then he calls his boss and he goes, "Oh, boss, this is terrible. You've sent me to a terrible place. In this place, nobody wears shoes. There's no market." And then the second salesman goes to the same territory and a few days later calls his boss and he goes, "Boss, this place is awesome. Nobody's wearing shoes. The opportunity is huge." And I think it just shows us, it's such a great example of how our attitude towards something and I guess the lens through which we view the world can have a dramatic effect on how we experience everything. So today I work with professionals. I'm a career coach. I work with professionals, mainly middle-aged, I have to say. It tends to be the time when people stop and sort of analyze where they are in life, I suppose. And a lot of them are feeling very stuck in careers that aren't fulfilling them. They're feeling burnt out, they're feeling stressed, perhaps bored. They're not using their skills as much as they'd like to. And sometimes they're just not surrounded by the sort of the right type of people who lift them up. So then they're feeling sidelined, they're feeling ignored, they're feeling like their work isn't valued. And some believe that they're being discriminated against, and sometimes they are. Some might feel like they're constantly being overlooked for opportunities for that promotion that they wanted to go for. Sometimes they are right, but sometimes they're just not. And when we believe that the system is stacked against us, then it's really easy to start seeing everything as proof of that belief. We carry a chip on our shoulder and it becomes our excuse for why we're stuck. I didn't get the promotion. Well, that's because I'm a woman in a male-dominated industry. I didn't get invited to that big meeting. Well, that's because they don't take me seriously. But what if, just for a moment, we consider that there is another possibility? What if we didn't get the promotion because the other candidate was actually a better fit? What if we weren't invited because the decision makers genuinely didn't need your input this time round? So carrying the belief that makes us feel like victims strips us of our power. And when we're stripped of our power and we sort of feel like we have no control, then what happens? We show up smaller, less confident, less impactful. I better not raise my voice. I better just stay in my corner and, be the nice girl that I'm expected to be. But that's not where you want to be, I assume. So what if we flip the script? And instead of assuming that the system is working against us, which, we all know that sometimes it is. I'm not being deluded. But what if we just assume that the system is not working against us and assume that the playing field is level? What if you walk into that room as if your voice deserves to be heard? What if you show up to that interview, that meeting, that performance review, like someone who belongs to be there? Because we have the power to act with power. So I'm not saying that gender bias doesn't exist. Obviously it does. I work with people every day who are facing it, sometimes daily. But the way I see it is that we have a really, really important choice to make. If we are indeed in an environment where we're being held back because of our age, our gender, our race. I mean, pick any factor, right? It could be, I mean, by the way, I also have male clients who absolutely feel that they're being discriminated against. So this is not just females feeling this way. I have lots of white, middle-aged men who are very, very good at their jobs, who are really nice, decent guys, trust me, who are being turned down for jobs, or at least feel like they're being turned down for jobs. We'll never know for sure. But they're out of work and they're struggling to get back in. So this goes both ways. Anyway, my point is that we have two choices. The first choice is we stay and we fight. We advocate for ourselves and we push for change in environments where that's necessary. And we make our voice so undeniable that the system just has to listen to us. There's no other choice. Our second option is that we walk away and we find a place and we find our environment and we find our tribe where our talents are recognized, where our contributions are valued, and we have the opportunity to really flourish, because those environments do exist. And I've worked with so many people who decided in the end that they'd pushed too much and they were exhausted from pushing and trying to make their voices heard. And it's like a seed. When you plant a seed in soil that has no nutrients and it doesn't get any sun and it doesn't get any water, then over time it's just going to shrivel up and die and not turn into anything. But put that same seed in nutrient-rich soil with the right amount of water, the right amount of care, the right amount of sunshine, and watch it blossom. And we're the same. So there's no right or wrong choice. Stay where you are and fight your cause. Or sometimes the best thing to do is to walk away. There is no right or wrong. You have the choice to do what's best for you. Both of them take courage, but they both require you to take ownership. And you don't have to stay stuck in a situation that is making you unhappy. You don't have to accept an environment that doesn't see your worth. You have the power to shift the way you see your situation, and you can shift the way people see you. So as my final thought, and then I'm going to stop talking, my challenge to you is take a really in-depth look at the stories that you're telling yourself. And I have to say, in particular to your career, because that's my job, is to talk to people about their careers. Look at the stories that you're telling yourself. Are they empowering you and enabling you to show up as the absolute best version of yourself? Or are they holding you back? And if they are in fact holding you back, then change them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Yeşim. And I absolutely love the story of the shoe salesman, right? It's all about perspective and having that positive mindset or not, right? Fantastic. Thank you very much. Moving on to the next speaker. Oh, hello. I think somebody wanted to. If we can please just for the sake of time, keep any questions in the chat. We can come back to them after. That would be great. Moving on to our next speaker, I introduce Annette Dernick, who will talk about love and peace in companies. Annette is a speaker, coach, author in the fields of leadership, teamwork, team development, intercultural awareness, project management, and communication. Handing over to you, Annette. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would love to share some slides as well. I do not know if, oh yes, wonderful, thank you. So I can hope that you can see the slides now.
Yes, we can.
So good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are now and whenever you will be listening to this wonderful recording. I'm very honored to be here. And yeah, my focus is the one on cooperating and how to really thrive and be successful in this time of transformation, because we are really in a very special time. And special times, in my opinion, they long for special solutions. To start in this intercultural context, I would love to give you an example how small gestures or things can be the reason for big irritations. And so I've brought you a gesture. And I know that this gesture in some cultures has a positive meaning, and in other ones, it can be very offending. And as it's about peace that I'm talking, so please regard this just as an example. And please, even though in your cultures it might be offending, please try not to be offended. It's just an example, so what we can do. So I'll just show the gesture, and I'll be happy to read your comments in the chat. So what this gesture means in your culture, and while you're typing in the chat, I will just go on. I am a speaker, coach, and author, and I'm very, very honored to represent G100 over here. G100 has been founded by Dr. Habeen Arora Ray in India, and it's a global network for women to really connect, support and empower each other. And I'm very happy that I'm the country chair for Germany for the wing Authentic Harmony and Positive Masculinity, because I've heard all that you've said, and yes, I know that there are still differences between men and women. And at the same time, for me, it's so important to really be in this together. And so I'm very grateful for my colleague in this wing, Liu. He is also a member of London Intercultural Center, who made the connection to this event today. And this for me is such a wonderful example for cooperation to really make the world, let's say, a better place. So I distinguish between three areas of peace. And what would you say where peace starts? For me, peace starts within. Peace starts within me. When I'm peaceful inside, then it's much easier to be peaceful with the people who surround me. And a very simple thing to be peaceful inside, and I invite you to do it just now, is to just put your feet on the ground, take a deep breath, and exhale and feel the peace inside. And if we do this more often during the day, then I hope that you as well can feel the peace that's in your body. And when I go to a meeting with this peace inside, then I can talk in another way with other people. And it doesn't have an influence only on meetings. It has an influence on everybody whom I'm talking to be it a client, being a CEO, being some young people who I support. And the third area is to have peace with the environment. The work that I do is concentrated on being peaceful inside and bringing love and peace to companies. My own history has been influenced very much by events that my parents experienced during World War II. And that's the reason why peace for me is so important, because we can all contribute to peace. Peace is not that they should make peace somewhere far away where there's war. Peace can start within me, and every day with every thought that I have, I can decide to have peaceful thoughts or to have thoughts which are not that peaceful. And so the work that I do is really, I love to work with company owners because they have the biggest impact on what's happening in the company. And I'm also working with teams so that they will work together in a much more appreciative and peaceful way. I compare this to sports teams because in teams and companies as well, it's important to have different characters. Like in a sports team, you can't win if everybody is of the same kind. And so I really appreciate to have different cultures, different characters, men, women, every gender between men and women, and to not look on the differences, but to look on what we all have in common. We are all humans. We are all living on the same planet for which we are responsible. And that's what's so important for me. So I also address leaders with my coachings and also with my speeches, because my experience is if you want to lead others, you have to lead yourself first. And this already starts with the communication. So two communication techniques are, for example, the so-called I statements and open-ended questions. As to time issues, I can answer questions related to this later on. The other question is, why is it so important to have this attitude of love and peace in companies? So if you are an employee in the company and if you love to work there, if you are appreciated, if you are welcomed, then your commitment is much higher. The fluctuation and sick days go down, productivity and creativity increase. So it's a win situation for the employees. And where do we as customers love to buy? I love to buy in those companies where I feel welcomed as a customer, where I feel appreciated. So it's a win situation for customers as well. And as I'm coaching company leaders, it's important that it's a win situation for them as well. So if costs decrease and turnovers increase, then profits will increase as well. And this is the win-win-win situation for everyone involved. And a very important thing for me as well is that this peaceful and appreciative attitude has also a positive effect when employees, when company owners, when customers come home, and when in the evening they are really happy with what they have experienced, when they can say, oh, we won a new customer, we solved the problem. It's a completely other attitude to start the evening. And with this, I already want to thank you for listening. If you have further questions, please reach out to me if you have questions regarding G100. And I will also come back now to the chat to see what you've written as to the symbol that I saw. So there are not, at present, I can't find them. So in many cultures, this symbol, it means okay. And in other cultures, it really means, the word starts with an A and ends with an E, and I'll leave out the rest between them. And that's really a big insult, especially in Southern European countries. If you're really very mad at somebody, you make this sign to really tell this person, please go away. So thank you very much. And yes, I'm very much enjoying this event here. It's so great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Annette. That's wonderful. And I love what you said about finding peace within ourselves, right? We get so lost in our busy work schedules and daily life. So it's so important to just have that moment to earth ourselves and sort of find the peace. And equally important in work environments, right? Leading with empathy is becoming more and more critical. Being empathetic and kind and having that love and peace in the work environment. Really nice. Thank you, Annette. So moving on to the next speaker, I'm really excited about this one, introducing Caitlin Sarian, an empowering global cybersecurity specialist. She's got over 1.4 million followers, a multi-award-winning cybersecurity leader and influencer, recognized in the 40 under 40, a keynote speaker, advocate for diversity and women in tech, and also CEO and cybersecurity educator. Thank you for being here, Caitlin. Handing over to you.
Thank you for having me. Thanks, I appreciate it. So I know we only have a few, not a lot of time, and there's a lot I want to cover because I think there's so much that I've learned as I've gone through my career. So the first thing, I'm just going to do a high level so you guys understand what we're going to go through. I first really want to explain how I got into cyber and then what that looks like, and then give the women cybersecurity tips, because unfortunately there's been so many surveys and studies that show that actually women are huge targets and we fall for a lot of things because we want to help. So just general cybersecurity tips, and then kind of shifting gears to embracing your superpower and how like listening to your heart and your inner child really got me to where I am today, and how I want to spread, more awareness around that, and just encourage everyone to show up as their true best self. So that's kind of what we're going to go through the next 15, 20 minutes. So first, like Nicole had mentioned, I am Caitlin Sarian. I am a global cybersecurity influencer, which, back when I was in college, that wasn't a thing. I still don't think that's a thing. It's really weird for me to say. And actually in college, I did engineering, and I want to go a little bit before that. I was always really good at math and science, but I never saw myself there. My parents actually really wanted me to apply to university as a engineer, and I just kept telling them that's a man's job. And I refused to go into university as an engineer. I wanted to be an elementary education major. I really wanted to teach kids because I could just never see myself in a technical career. Fast forward a couple of years, I was in school and I decided I was going to switch to engineering, which is a whole story in itself, but I ended up loving it. I absolutely love being able to problem solve. I loved being able to use my math. And I did aerospace mechanical engineering for both my bachelor's and my master's degree. And I loved every second of it. And I actually kind of stumbled into cybersecurity. I had done internships and I decided, I'm not sure if I could see myself in this, aerospace engineer for a long term. I kept kind of seeing older people, they're kind of working on the same problems. And I was like, I think I'm going to get bored after 5 or 10 years. So I was applying as a tech consultant to a company. And I had a lady named Danielle Cosgrove, who's amazing, decide that during the interview process, say, hey, I think you'd be really good at cybersecurity. I really want to mentor you. We can teach you everything on the job. And I had no idea what cybersecurity meant. I thought it was just coding. So I don't know if anyone thinks cybersecurity is coding in the chat, let me know, because that's what most people think. Cybersecurity is coding and hacking. And I didn't want to tell her. I actually took a coding class in school and I was terrible at it. And I was like, I'm not going to tell her this. Obviously, I want this job. I'm just going to keep going. So I was like, sure, yeah, everything. I'll learn everything on the job. And I was so intrigued. I turned down all the other tech consultings. I turned down my aerospace kind of career and went this cybersecurity consulting route. And I just figured, if it wasn't going to work, I'm going to, decided to go back to my aerospace route, and I ended up loving it. It's such a cool field. You're always problem solving. And to this day, I've been in it for 11, 12 years. I've not touched one line of code. And my goal is to show women and people that like cybersecurity is such a crazy field that you can get into so many different areas. We need every single type of person. And that was one of the reasons why I started my social media channel 3 years ago. But actually I lived in London for a few years. I did so many cool cybersecurity things. And I came back and I decided my heart really wasn't in it. I was a director at one of the largest law firms in the world, helping companies protect consumer data. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I just don't feel like this is my purpose. Like protecting companies was not my purpose. My purpose was trying to protect consumers and everyday people. And so I started this channel on the side and I decided, let's just see what happens. And I gave myself a deadline. I said, I'm going to post 3 days a week or 3 days a day, 3 times a day for a year. And if it doesn't work out, it's fine. And the reason why I called it Cybersecurity Girl was because I was so embarrassed. I did not want anyone to know, like, again, I'm a director at like a very large, like the top 3 largest law firms in the world. I'm like, I can't be telling people that I'm on TikTok, like trying to educate people. It was embarrassing for me at the time. And it just kind of blew up and I started realizing the need for it. And I really started embracing my creativity. So we'll talk about that later. But first I want to talk about what cybersecurity is as a career. So there's all types of areas of cyber. For me personally, I got into cyber transformation, which just meant I looked at companies from 20 different angles and like assessed where they were at from a baseline. So I had a really large like knowledge set, but I wasn't very deep in certain areas. And then 3 or 4 years in, I started getting really deep into data protection and data privacy, which is why I moved to London to help with GDPR. I don't know if anyone knows that, but if you're in cybersecurity, it's not the most fun topic to talk about. But and there's just so many areas of cyber. There's areas where you're assessing third parties, and we're making sure that anyone that collects data that's not in your company is protecting it equally. There's so many areas, and I really, really hopefully inspire you to start looking at the different areas in cyber, because it is not all coding. And again, one of the reasons why I started the channel also was because every time I would go on a date, someone would always say, oh, are you going to hack my phone? Are you going to look into my stuff? And I'm like, that's not even what I do. Like, that's not what I do. So it was really just to demystify what the cybersecurity top field is. And again, there's so many areas that do not require coding. Actually, I would say like 3 or 4 out of 10 areas require coding. And coding is great. Don't get me wrong. It's just not my cup of tea. I'm not good at it. Like, we all have strengths and weaknesses. That is my weakness, and I'm okay to admit that. But we need, all types of people. We need, the extreme type A's that would want to audit and make sure that companies are being compliant with cybersecurity laws. We need creative people. We need, problem and program managers that are managing these, crazy, fast-paced technical cybersecurity programs. So I really hopefully inspire people to get into cyber, start learning. So go to my page. I have tons of free resources too. And then the other thing, just cyber tips in general for women. Again, we're huge targets online. Again, because we have kind hearts and we want to help people, but unfortunately the scammers know that. And so they try to pull on our heartstrings as much as possible. So just general cybersecurity hygiene tips. I hate to say this because it sounds really cliche and I want to bang my head against the wall, but passwords are really, really important. Now, you don't technically need new passwords for every single account, but for the accounts that mean the most to you, and I'll let that be your decision, definitely make strong and unique passwords. And there's actually a website where you can check to see if your password was leaked on the dark web, because there's constantly data breaches. And so what happens is hackers actually use those data breaches. They get your username and password, and they just start applying and trying it for any accounts. And now most people think, why me? It doesn't matter. They want your network. They want your status, because scammers, it's really hard for them to, when we get scam calls, it says like possible scam, right? But if you're getting a call from like your mom, then it's not going to say possible scam. It's the same for the internet as well. So make really strong passwords. Just be really, really, really careful with what you share. There is so much technology nowadays that even if you think there's literally nothing in the background, it could pretty much pinpoint your exact location with where you're posting. So if you have kids, like, be mindful that if you don't need to share this to the public, maybe like lock your account down. I know we live in a world where we want to share everything, we want to overshare, but honestly, if you're not trying to be an influencer, which I don't think anyone needs to be, if you have your friends and it's locked down, it's the same thing. So I really, really suggest you guys go to private accounts. To be very mindful of what you share. Use a VPN if possible, which is a virtual private network, which means that anything that you do on your computer is getting encrypted day to day. So, in the UK, everyone uses WhatsApp because it's secure, right? It's encrypted end to end. And iMessage used to not be that. And actually, I think iMessage actually went back in the UK. They're not encrypted anymore, again, as of like 2 weeks ago. But that's the same thing when you use a VPN when you go on any computer, right? So there's really easy, simple tips, like don't overshare, use strong passwords, use a VPN, and just, again, be mindful. Like, don't click on links and don't share photos with random strangers. I don't know like the age range of who's watching this, but I know Snapchat is a really big deal. And a lot of times people add you on Snapchat that you don't know. And it's not just Snapchat, Instagram, whatever. Sextortion and a lot of other scams are happening right now, and it's very unfortunate. So just be very, very mindful of what you share. Keep your passwords safe and secure and long, especially like I would implore you to kind of go through your accounts and say which ones are my most important that I wouldn't want people going through, and making sure that those passwords are secure. And then my last thing is I really want to inspire you to start thinking about things outside of your career, right? Because for me, all I knew and what I love, I'm a very driven person, and I've been like that since I was a kid. And all I did as a child was like, keep kind of clawing my way, pushing, grinding, working as hard as I can to get to the top, right? And from someone that got to the top and realized, oh my gosh, what did I just do? I just spent, 10 plus years working so hard. Obviously, I don't regret anything, but I started realizing and going into my more feminine side, right? So as a STEM person, a woman in STEM, you are surrounded by men. And a lot of times that really hardens you up. And it also makes you feel like you need to wear the pants all the time. And I think there's such a really strong superpower in being able to walk in both worlds. And that was something I very much struggled with. I wore the pants for, 10 to 12 hours every day, working really hard. And when I came home, I didn't really know how to go back into my feminine. And it wasn't until COVID actually helped me slow down and realize that, like, the things that I loved and what my passions were. And you don't need to know, like, all I knew was I wanted to help someone. And that's not a lot of direction, right? But when you start slowing down and you're really embracing your feminine, I think females have such superpowers that we're given, and we have such unique strengths and abilities that are given to us and that we've learned through our career and through our childhood and through our trauma and through our success. And being able to start sitting and relaxing and listening to that is so important. I think there's so much that we can do outside of work. And unlike, a lot of men think, your life is your job, but women are also, providers. Like, we are like the true multitaskers, even though we shouldn't be multitasking. And so start thinking of ways that you can give back. Because I think it wasn't until I started doing my channel where I really was leaning into my feminine and being quote unquote creative, which, by the way, I never thought I was going to be creative. I'm terrible at coloring, terrible at painting. I can't color in the lines, and I'm like 30 something years old. Creativity is literally what skills God gave you, like through the storms, trials, and tribulations. And it's like how you see and portray the world. And so being able to embrace that is so important. And I think there's a need for women to start sitting in their own feminine and sitting in their own strength, because that's what the world needs. The world doesn't need another woman in a pantsuit getting shit done. Obviously we need that too, but like the world needs like your unique perspective. And I think, obviously I have a twin brother, so I'm not like biased against men versus women. I want everyone to succeed, but I think females actually have a really, really good grip on that. And so I just inspire and implore you to kind of start leaning into more of your feminine, even if you're in a masculine role. I love my math and science. I love working hard, but I've also been very mindful of trying to be in both worlds, because I think for me, that's what I feel like my true passion and purpose comes from. And so, hopefully if you guys have any questions on cyber, let me know. You can find me Cybersecurity Girl on pretty much every platform, or Caitlin Sarian on LinkedIn, and looking forward to connecting with everyone.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Caitlin, for joining us today. And it's such a good reminder, right? Really scary how the world is going with scammers, and with AI now, they're getting so much more advanced, and it's crazy. Like you said, like what they can do with pictures, and be careful what you post about your kids. And I'm one of those classic ones who has the same password for everything. So yeah, we have to be really careful, right? Good. Thank you so much, Caitlin. Our next speaker, actually, Fiona Banister, was a video she's kindly recorded for us, but because of time, I think we're going to park that till the end. So now we will move on to Shevon Harris-Holyfield. Great to have you back, second year in a row. Shevon is going to talk about allyship and fostering gender equity together. She is a member and partner at Lewis Rice LLC. Thank you so much, Shevon. Great to have you back. Handing over to you.
Thank you so much. It's great to be back. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you're located. A little bit about me. Again, I'm Shevon Harris-Holyfield. I'm a lawyer. I am married to the former 4-time heavyweight champion of the world, Evander Holyfield. I am a mother, and I'm a grandmother to 4 wonderful grandchildren. Today I want to discuss an issue that is not just important, but it is essential. It is the role of men in women's empowerment, the power of allyship, and how we can foster gender equity together. So just a little bit about my journey. I graduated from law school and joined one of the largest predominantly male law firms in the state of Missouri. And at that time, there was very little diversity there. I was one the only African-American female in about 150 lawyers, and I think there were about maybe 3 to 4, we had one that left, partners there total. So after 6 years as an associate, I made the very difficult decision to leave my position there and start my own law firm. It was really difficult while I was there as a single mother to keep up with the demands of the big law firm, the billable hours, the demand for business productivity. So I ran my own law firm successfully for 22 years. And about 1.5 years ago, I went back and I rejoined that former law firm. And while that law firm still is male dominated, I was able to negotiate some favorable terms upon my return, thanks in part to sponsorship of some key male allies within the law firm. So that experience reinforced a powerful lesson. Mentorship is valuable, but sponsorship is transformative. Mentorship offers guidance. Sponsorship actively opens doors, and I was fortunate to have that door open for me to rejoin the law firm back. So as a female partner in a male-dominated profession, I've seen firsthand the impact of male allyship, both when it is present and when it is missing. While we women, we've made remarkable strides, true equity, however, is not achieved in isolation. It requires partnership, it requires understanding, and it requires active engagement from men as well. So today we're going to explore a little bit about what true allyship means, how we can foster it, and why gender equity is not just a women's issue. It is a societal issue, and it requires a collective effort. So what does it mean to be a true ally? Allyship is not just about men saying they support women. It's about action. It requires recognizing gender bias, challenging inequities, and using privilege to advocate for change. True male allies listen and learn. They educate themselves on the barriers that we women face instead of assuming that they already understand them. They speak up. They call out bias and discrimination, even when we are not in the room, and they share opportunities. They mentor, they sponsor, and they elevate women to leadership. But let's be honest, allyship, it definitely isn't easy. Some men want to help, but they don't know how. Others are fearful of saying the wrong thing, and some don't even see that there's a problem. But that's where we as women, we come in. We're coming in not to fix the problem and not to carry the burden, but we want to create pathways for meaningful engagement. So how can we create a workplace where gender equity? I'm going to give you 4 recommendations. 1, encourage open conversations. We need to create spaces where men can feel comfortable discussing gender equity, asking questions, and acknowledging their blind spots. Silence often comes from fear of saying the wrong thing or fear of overstepping. But if we're able to foster an open dialogue and break down barriers, we will make progress. Number 2, we need to hold leadership accountable. Policies promoting gender equity are only effective if leadership is accountable. Male leaders must commit to measurable goals, whether that means increasing the number of women in leadership, ensuring equal pay, or implementing sponsorship programs that actively support women's advancement. Number 3, we need to shift from mentorship to sponsorship when it's appropriate. Mentorship is very valuable, but sponsorship will accelerate careers. A sponsor just doesn't offer advice. They actively advocate for a woman's career advancement. So, men in leadership, they need to be intentional about sponsoring women, just as they do their male colleagues. Number 4, we need to work on redefining that workplace. Gender bias is often baked into the workplace culture, from how performances are evaluated to who gets invited to that key seat at the table. Male allies should challenge these norms, ensuring that our voices are heard as women our contributions are recognized, and our potential is fully valued. So you might ask yourself, well, does gender equity, does it really benefit anyone? Well, yes, it does. At its core, gender equity is not about women versus men. And I know that that's probably what many think that it is, but it's not. It's about creating a fairer, more inclusive world for everybody. And I heard somebody mention this earlier. Research consistently shows that companies with gender diverse leadership outperform those that don't. There's more inclusive teams that drive better decision-making, greater innovation, and higher profitability. So progress does not happen if allyship is seen as optional. It must be ingrained in organizations and how men see their role in shaping the future. So this means shifting the mindset from just helping women to working together, because gender equity is not just a women's issue. Again, it is a societal issue. So the question is, where do we go from here? So we need to continue that conversation. We need to demand action, and we need to ensure that allyship is not performative, but that it's real and sustained. So let me share a little bit about how my firm is continuing with that conversation and how we're taking action. So one of the ways that we are fostering allyship and women's empowerment is through our Women's Forum, which is part of our broader diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative. Our DEI committee is intentionally gender inclusive, bringing together both men and women from diverse backgrounds. Our Women's Forum, it's called Women to Women. It is a space, it's a subpart of our DEI Forum initiative, and it's a space designed to support and amplify and influence women attorneys in our firm. While it is a forum of women, it is actively supported by the male allies in our firm who recognize the importance of advancing gender equity. And their involvement ensures that these conversations lead to meaningful change rather than just symbolic efforts. So each year, our Women to Women sponsors events such as guest speakers and panel discussions that focus on issues relevant to key leaders in the business and legal communities. These events not only elevate conversations around equity and leadership, but also provide the women opportunities to network with clients and VIP guests. So what makes this initiative truly impactful is it's not just a women's committee. It is a collaborative effort that includes men in leadership roles who are committed to driving real progress. Allyship is not about standing on the sidelines. It's about actively participating in movement for gender equity. So this is just one example of how institutions can move beyond statements of support and create sustainable cultures of allyship. And I think Caitlin was talking about stepping into the feminine side. So I do want to say that this Women to Women's Forum, we also do that. We do have events strictly for the women. There's spa days, there's luncheons, there's time just to connect and step back. So I think, I thank Caitlin for mentioning that. I do think it's important for women that are in this male-dominated professional role. So to my fellow women leaders in this virtual room and the men that have joined us, keep challenging the status quo, keep mentoring and sponsoring the next generation, and keep inviting men to the table, but not just as allies, but as partners in this journey forward. The path to gender equity isn't one we walk alone. It's one that we forge together. So thank you. And back over to you, Nicole.
Thank you, Shevon. That's absolutely lovely. And I really like what you said about, calling out bias and discrimination. It's what you do when nobody's watching, when nobody's in the room. So really, really important. Thank you. Moving on to our next speaker, we've got Helen Matthew speaking about entrepreneurship and women-owned businesses. Helen is a visionary leader unlocking your global potential, longest running legal consultancy firm in Dubai, and also a global legal resource. Thank you very much, Helen. Handing over to you.
Thank you very much. First of all, I just want to say it's such an honor to be with such a great group of women making a difference around the world. And I think these kind of forum create such a safe environment for us to express ourselves and be our authentic self and just be who we really are without having to, you know, take on, dim our light. Because you see, if we were to do the same kind of forum, but in front of 500 people, maybe our masculine side or something would actually make us a little bit dim our light. So I think it's what I want to address today is really how abundance flows when leaders are in their authentic self. I'm doing a little bit different because from the title that is on the program, I was just in a conference in Paris where I was a speaker, and I spoke about the edge of where I spoke on the embracing our intuition, collaboration, and abundance as women. And I think it's important that we talk about being our authentic self, because as women, this is sometimes where we have some concerns, or it's a little bit, we feel that it is really unsafe. Just very briefly about who I am, you have the chance of having two lawyers, one after the other. So I am like was mentioned, I am the first Western non-Arabic female woman to open a legal consultancy firm in Dubai. I am in Dubai since 1994. So if you can imagine 30 years ago, as a woman over there, it was a very male dominated area. So I did really shattered glass ceiling in supporting audacious business ideas, high level non-profit service project, and so much strategic investment opportunities. And I've, been helping a lot women, and I've seen a lot, and I really feel that the subject of authenticity as leader and how it actually creates abundance is extremely important. So what does being authentic leads to, right? So first of all, let's talk about what abundance is. The masculine, or the definition that we've all known was basically, in order to be abundant, you need to work hard, right? But actually, being abundant is so much more than just working hard and being financially successful. Being abundant is about having fulfillment in what you are doing. It's about creating opportunities, and out of these things, you can become prosper. So the fundamental value of leading to abundance is us being in our authentic selves. So when we shed the society's expectations and we embrace our own values and lead with integrity, this is when we can be with our authentic self. So how does authentic self fuel abundance? First, I think whenever we are not pretending and we are really behaving at the soul of who we are, we create deep trust and we make meaningful connections. And that is also very fulfilling, because whenever we create contact and people really trust you, that is really creating abundance within yourself, because being trusted is something super important. It also aligns with your purpose and creates fulfillment. And it's also inspire and elevate others, because when you are in your authentic self, you're actually giving the permission to others to also be themselves. And that is extremely important. So how do we become our authentic self? Because that's a very big question. We talk about it, and it's very easy to say, oh yeah, I need to be my authentic self. But how do we really know if we are in our authentic self? I'm a very pragmatic lawyer, and I really like to give some pragmatic and practical tools. So basically, one of the one of the things which is extremely important is that we need to find the three main values that aligns with who we truly are. And we would like to stick with those values no matter what. So it's not the values that society, that we would like to be, but who we really are. Because we get, family wants us to be in certain ways. Society wants us to be in certain ways. The partners in a law firm want us to be in a certain ways. But what is our own and truly our own values that are defined by who we truly are? So just to give you maybe an idea, I went through this exercise and I've defined my three values. And that's an exercise that can take time because there are various aspects and you really need to decide what really corresponds to you in the best possible way. And these things can evolve with time. But for me, my most important one is integrity. Integrity is at the core of everything that I do. And how is that reflected in what I do? Very basically, when I work, when I, for example, if I have a client that comes to me and is like, oh, I want to do a contract and, I want to make sure that, these things are done, which I do not feel are very fair terms to the other party. I was like, I'm sorry. I, as a lawyer, always do things that I feel that both parties, or all the parties involved, get a fair, that has a fair contracts. It's fair for everyone involved. If you want to do something which is unfair to one of the parties participating in this contract, you know what? Just go somewhere else. So I really own my integrity, and really, sometimes I am put in very difficult situation, and I really uphold that value to the maximum. What my two other values? The second one is being of service. I need to feel that I am doing something that has an impact and that is useful to the others. So even as a lawyer, we can be useful to others in so many ways, and not only in legal ways. Sometimes just being there and being able to listen and have empathy is being of service. So there's so many ways that we can be of service and help other people. And whenever you have that sense that you've made an impact, I'm telling you, there's not $1 billion that would remove that feeling inside of us. Because when we feel that we've touched the life of someone, that carries on with us. Whenever you make a contract for 3 and you make good money, that's going to last for 5 minutes. You're going to be happy. It's not going to be as lasting as doing something that is of service and that has an impact. That's for me, of course. And the last one, which I actually struggle a little bit more, because it took me a little bit of time to actually define it specifically. And because there was many other values that were coming forward. So the ones that was very important to me was heart-centered. So if I am in integrity and I want to do service, I want to have an impact in the life of the others, and I do this from a heart-centered space, there's nothing that can make me happier than this. And how does that create abundance? Very simply. Once you're actually in a place when you feel grateful and you feel fulfilled, your vibrations are just telling the universe, give me more. And the universe is going to give you more of that. Because when you are fulfilled, you raise your vibration, you are in love and everything. So that is really, really amazing. So I encourage you, and I think that's something, if you don't have already your 3 core values, please get and define those, because everything stems from these 3 values. How you do your work, how you find or you carry out your soul mission on this planet. Everything will stem out from these 3 values. And then you will be more fulfilled, you'll be happier, and you'll be a magnet for others to feel like, wow, you will elevate others to trying to become their authentic self. So that is extremely, extremely important. So this is one of the questions that I addressed during my conference. And I thought that this was one of the most important one, because whenever we become who we truly, truly are, and we take the time to define it, there is absolutely nothing that can beat that. I just would like to finish on something which is a little bit different, and it's not exactly the conclusion that I had envisaged, but with what is going on right now in the world, and the chaos that we are going on at various levels, I would like to encourage you to be the beacon of light, right? I want you to be that light in the middle of the storm, the eye of the cyclone, where there is peace. So no matter what happens around, you are just so anchored in who you are, and you know that you are safe, you are loved, and you are protected. And if we are able to do that, there's actually nothing that this world is going to go through that we cannot actually uphold and go through successfully. Unfortunately, human beings, in order to elevate consciousness, needs to go through some hardship. If we're too comfortable, we do not question ourselves. So let's take these disruptions as opportunities for us to first define who we really are, and actually stay a beacon of light. And we are maybe 50 people in this room all across the planet. So if each of us become a beacon of light, we can actually make a difference in whatever the next few months that are coming up. And it may be a little bit of a I have only the word in French, like a roller coaster. Thank you. It will be just a roller, because it will be a roller coaster. So let's just hang on tight, let's tight our seatbelt and just stay within our light and our authentic self. And then we can embrace and go through everything. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Helen. Really, really meaningful. I love the three values, and you're right, integrity is the most critical of them, right? And I love what you said about the disruptions. I love to have this mindset that they're actually not a negative, but little projects, kind of how can you overcome them, right? So yeah, really interesting. Thank you so much. Moving on to our next speaker, we've got Dr. Cornelia Kawann. She's going to speak about mentorship and career growth. Dr. Cornelia is a business and personal energy strategist for women in male-dominated industries, and a very energetic leadership expert. Thank you for joining us second year in a row, Dr. Cornelia. Great to have you back. Handing over to you.
Thank you so much for this very kind introduction, and yeah, it's a pleasure being here, and I'm very excited. Thank you very much for having me, and also, I'm very grateful for all the speakers before me, and I think there are a lot of things I can connect to during my short speech, and as you pointed out, in a way, it's about entrepreneurship and also women-owned business in male-dominated industry. And before I start off, I really would like to ask you, and I'm quite sure you did, but it's good to remember. Have you ever experienced a moment that changed everything in your life? And I'm quite sure most of us had these experiences. And I would like to share two of these moments with you that really changed my life. And the first moment actually was, I was quite young, but as I remember very well that moment. And that was when I was 4 years old. And you will think, oh, okay, 4 years. But, I was always so impressed when my mom plugged in vacuum cleaner or mixer, and then all of a sudden, the magic happened. And I was so wondering, what's behind this socket that, brings all this power into these gadgets. And so one afternoon, I was in the garden, and then I found this or something similar like this. And so I took this really long rusty nail and sneaked back into my room. And then I did something I wouldn't ever recommend anybody doing. I put it into the socket. And so the next thing that I remembered was I was lying in the middle of the room, And my mom was bending over me. She was really worried. And then, so I was really lucky that the security system was faster than me being with the nail full in the system. But this very specific moment really changed my life, because I thought, wow, this is so powerful, and I want to know how it works. And that's actually why I studied electrical engineering. And I can tell you now, I do know how the electricity gets into the socket and how the whole thing is working. And but as we already had heard before, and I'm quite sure it's the energy industry is the same all over the world. It's a very male-dominated industry. And so I can completely relate to my speaker before, because I always had like this urge in a way to be better, smarter, faster, stronger. I always had to prove myself. And yes, indeed, I really did. You had a very great career in different companies in the European energy industry. But in a way, I only reached it, and it was also mentioned before, so I think it's interesting to see this pattern. I had this very strong driver that I can reach everything when I just work hard enough. And I think many of you can relate that. We were kind of brought up in this world, but this was such a very strong driver that kind of it surpassed everything. So I was everywhere for everybody, and just to move on in my career, and then that was the second moment that changed my whole life. Something happened, and that was, in a way, I had forgotten a very important parameter in this equation, and this was myself. I became very, very ill, and when you're down in the dark hole, then you rethink many things you're doing in your life, your career, and many other things. And there were two things that I found out in this situation. And the first thing is, I'm an engineer. There are always more solutions to a problem. I just need to find them. So for me, it was clear that I need to find solutions to get out of this situation. And it was actually, I was very lucky that quite quickly I found the solution to my problem. And the solution was quantum science. Because it just said, what does quantum science? I know it sounds very academic and scientific, but it just says, and it's our daily life, everything and everybody is just energy. And there is a frequency of everything. And I'm an electrical engineer. I do know what energy is and how a frequency works. So just thinking about it, I noticed, what if, every thought, every belief, everything what we are doing, it's just a frequency. And it's so much easier to deal, for me, it was so much easier to deal with frequencies than doing mindset work or whatever. So I started experimenting with my world of energy, my new world of energy. And people started noticing in a way that, I had so much more energy. I looked at things in a completely different way. I had more solutions, different solutions, other opportunities. And then, of course, people started asking me, how are you doing it? What are you doing? And then I figured out, and we also mentioned, I heard that before, right? Today, today's world, we have so many obligations for their, job and business, for their care, family, kids, aging parents, communities. Women don't even have a chance to not manage their energy. Because what I've learned is, we are so much focusing on time management, but when I was really ill, I realized, what can you do with all the time in the world when you feel miserable? And so I noticed for myself that my most valuable currency in my life is my energy. And we are all trading our energies, what we are thinking, what we are doing, what we are believing, what we are dreaming of. It's always a trade-off. And so I started finding out, having so much more energy, I perceived life so much easier. And that's why people, especially women, approached me, and I started teaching them how they, can recharge their energy, how they can set energetic boundaries, and also I had some clients in a way. Many clients with burnouts, they really had an energy problem, same as the energy crisis we experienced here in Europe. There are so many similarities between the electric energy and our personal energy. And so we looked into it, why, she had also a very strong driver, and that's why she couldn't stop working. And on the other side, like, women with procrastination were coming to me because, the thing is, I have so many ideas, but I just can't get myself to sit at the computer and work on it. And so we worked on it energetically, and I could see that it really shifted a lot, and they could, bring their magic and their impact into the world. And that's what made me we spoke also about, heard about it before. It's so important that you can, support others, your own service. And if others can bring their light into the world and their ideas, that's really what I love so much about it. So what I noticed when managing your energy, you're having more and better opportunities. You definitely attract the right clients. Those ones, they are really committed. They want to change something in their life. And you feel so much more successful and fulfilled in a way. And you also, have the energy to, live your own vision. I think this is so important. And now I'm having so much energy that I'm still working as an executive position in the corporate world. And I'm also running my own business. And what I noticed, this energy is definitely key. And I don't know if you have time, but I could, like a 1 minute exercise I would like to share with you. And this is, if you want to close your eyes, right, and just connect with your energy. Just set this intention, and then set the even stronger intention to call back all your energies. Because we as women, we are so all over the place. We leave our energies with people. We leave it at places. We leave it at situations. And that's why we have less energy to really, we don't have this energy we need to live our vision and our dreams and make an impact in the world. And I can only ask you, call all your energies back to you, because they belong to you and they will make you feel whole and powerful. And my last word in a way is, your energy is definitely your business card. It's always with you. People will feel it. And it's so powerful. And as I said before, for me, it's the most valuable thing in my life. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cornelia, and how important it is to take care of that energy, right? Because it's contagious. We pass it on to others. So we need to take care of what's inside first. Thank you. And moving on to the wonderful Dr. Britta Simon, who's with us for many of our events. So welcome, Britta. It's great to have you back. Britta is going to talk about back to work, creating a bond of safety and care from mother to child. I love that. So meaningful to me right now. Dr. Britta is a certified professional of the Institute of Heart Math USA, but based in Germany. She is a licensed stress and well-being assessment provider, doctor of metaphysics, and online course instructor at the London Intercultural Academy. Thank you so much, Dr. Britta. Handing over to you.
Thank you so much. First of all, can you hear me well? everyone?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Yeah, and it's an absolute delight to be here. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone. I am very delighted to be here, to be with you all today. And actually, I am absolutely filled hearing all these wonderful inspirational women really filled my heart, and I can really resonate with so much that has been said for now. And talking about inspiration, what I'm talking about today, creating a bond between mother and child, especially in the challenging situation when you go back to work after maternity leave, has actually been inspired by you, Nicole, and a wonderful article, and our wonderful Dr. Hala. So I think we have a topic here, and I'm trying to keep the talking a bit short, because I also, like wonderful Cornelia, I want to invite you at the end of my presentation to a really short, like 2-3 minute exercise, which actually creates this bond. It's not just a mental thing, it is something that we can create from our heart center. Yeah, so this is what I would like to invite you today. And this is basically a tribute to women and their role as a mother, and a tribute to their special connection with their children. Mothers, I think we all agree, are the backbone of the family, and often the backbone of an organization or a social circle. And children are the backbone of our future. And I'm sure we also agree that without children, there won't be any human future on this planet. In previous times, a woman's role was mostly defined by her capacity as a spouse, taking care of the household and the upbringing of the children. But times have changed significantly, especially in the past 100+ years. And now women have the freedom to choose whether they want to do anything else beyond the classical role. However, more choices also bring more challenges. And especially in this case, to choose if, when, and how to go back to activities which have been paused for a while due to maternity leave. Well, all women in our modern world, we all had a life before maternity filled with education, career, hobbies, and so forth, traveling, of course. And I believe none of us were really were planning to give up all these activities just because we are stepping into motherhood, yeah, because we enjoyed those activities and they are part of our life and they are part of what we are and what defines us. So, but one of the first issues we probably think about when we are within maternity leave is when and how to go back to work. All these questions around this issue, which brings us, of course, back to the real life challenges. And just to name a few practical challenges, there is the question around finding a place for childcare. There is another question around adjusting working hours, overall flexibility. And for example, what do I do when the child is ill, which of course happens. And of course, there are financial considerations. But this is all very normal and this is manageable, and I'm sure we can all find solutions for these issues. But in my opinion, what weighs even more are the emotional challenges in form of worries, anxiety, and often also guilt around questions like, is it maybe too early for the child to adapt to being with other people or in an unfamiliar environment? Or is it safe for the child? Am I probably a reckless or selfish mother giving a child into other people's care? Or also, will I be judged by my social circles for whatever decision I'm going to take? So, and on the other hand, let's have a look at the little ones, let's have a look at the children. a natural reaction of the children will certainly be around emotions like the fear of being abandoned and maybe the fear of not belonging or not being accepted. And this might sound very harsh, but these are fundamental human fears that cannot simply be erased or eliminated. They happen naturally. And in addition to this, a child, due to its natural, close, energetic connection to its mother, will always take the motherly emotion as a reference point. In other words, when mom worries, the child will worry as well. This is just happening naturally. Children mainly depend on their mothers, not only for physical, but for foremost for their emotional safety. And this is what it's all about here, the emotional safety. It is always about safety and security, mentally, physically, and above all, the emotional safety. And this is a perfect moment now to change our attitude around the fears and worries of both mother and child to a more empowering perspective. So when we embrace the fact that fears are natural, they are a natural reaction to keep us safe, and that they are merely a nudge or an alert to take some kind of sensible action, then we are already one step ahead or one step further to some kind of a solution. The bottom line is, it is about creating and sustaining a feeling of safety and security for both mother and the child. And today, as I said, I want to share a very simple and efficient technique we exercise at the Institute of HeartMath. It's called the heart lock-in technique. This is not only transforming fear and worry and anxiety, but also really in real time creating a solid foundation of safety for the child, even from a remote place, meaning even when mother and child are physically apart or separated for a few hours. And this technique, it goes beyond mental analyzation. In fact, the mental or our rational mind sometimes has no capacity to comprehend, to understand what's going on here. Yes, this is what we, as Dr. Cornelia also said, the energy we carry and the energy we radiate and emanate is so much stronger and so much more powerful. And this is what we can leverage also in our daily life, and especially when we want to strengthen the connection, the energetic connection between mother and child when we give the child into child care. And this is just a very simple exercise. And may I just invite you all here in this beautiful community to just relax, sit back, drop your shoulders, and we just do a little exercise to create this energetic bond between people, between mother and child, but it also works with other family members and even with pets and whoever is also is a parent, so to speak. This technique uses the energetic heart connection, which is natural and familiar with a child even from before it was born. And now I would just like to invite you to maybe put your feet on the ground and close your eyes if you like, and focus for a moment your attention at the center of your chest, your heart area. Take a deep breath and imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart or chest area, breathing a little deeper and slower than usual. In breath and out breath are approximately equally long. And when the mind wanders, Just bring your attention back to the heart. And now I would like to invite you to activate to the best of your abilities a regenerative feeling, a feeling like care and compassion, appreciation for something or anything, appreciation for your family, for your child. And keep breathing. And focus on the heart. And now I would like to invite you to radiate this feeling of care and compassion towards yourself. And now imagine you are a little radio station and radiate this heart feeling directly from your heart to your child, your family member. It might be in the next room or even further away. And breathe. And there might be something you feel. There might be a moment even you don't feel anything. This is absolutely fine. We can rest assured that our heart is doing exactly what it's right for us at this moment in time. And lastly, I would like you to imagine you and your child or your family member are somewhere out in the woods, and you are sitting on a tree trunk, of a tree, and the roots are entering the earth. They are deeply connected to the earth. And imagine there are roots emanating from the back of your spine and from the tip of your spine of your child. And set the intention to ground yourself and your child or your family member like the tree. Feel the connection with the earth. And breathe. And you may even give command towards yourself. I am grounded. I am grounded, and so is my loved one. And this is a very simple technique, a heart connection technique that creates a very strong energetic bond between the hearts of two humans, and a grounding technique that also works from a distance. And I thank you so much for your attention and for joining me in this exercise. And let me just say one thing I want to conclude my presentation with, and that is leveraging our human intelligent abilities is often far beyond what our rational mind can grasp and comprehend. There is a vastness and a magic to it that can only be compared to the love between a mother and her child. And I wish Nicole all the best, and all mothers and all those beautiful people in this community. And I thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Britta. And I think what you said about really being conscious that when we worry, our children worry, right? And I will be trying this heart connection technique for sure in future as well. And I advise everybody to do it. I think it's very powerful. Moving on to our next speaker, we have Dr. Adijat Adefila with us, talking about upskilling and reskilling for the digital era. Dr. Adefila is a business management and employee retention expert, personal and professional development coach, and accountability partner, mentor, and educator. Thank you for being with us, Dr. Adefila. I hand the floor to you.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for that beautiful introduction. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today. Bear me a moment, I would like to share my slides of presentation. Okay, I hope my slide is beautiful enough to brighten up your day further.
Yes, we can see it.
Yes. So I'll be talking about upskilling and reskilling for the digital era. As we all know, we're now in the global age whereby everything we do has a lot to do with the digital world. So a second. Oh, okay. I hope you can still see my slide.
We can.
Close it from my end. Give me a second. So I'd like to reshare it again. Give me a moment. Okay. Can you see my slide now? Yeah. Is it showing?
We can't. No.
Oh, you
not
can't
anymore.
see it?
No.
Oh, not anymore. Okay, I think I'll just kickstart the presentation and then I'll bring up this slide in a bit. I have no idea why it's not letting me share the other part. So once again, it's a pleasure to be here with you all today. Before I dive into our topic for today, I have a question for you all. Have you felt that sense of uncertainty in your career or personal life when faced with change? Especially technological change. I know I have many times. So it's almost like we are all navigating a digital sea and the tide of technology shifts constantly. But here's the thing, those who thrive in this digital era are not just the one with the technical skills. Because most of the time when we talk about digital, everyone start thinking, oh, do I have to study to be an IT expert? But the main thing is those who embrace the power of upskilling and reskilling, it is more essential rather than the technical skills. So my journey has a little backstory. My journey has taken me from IT operations to business management, coaching, and education. I've had the privilege of supporting individuals and organizations in finding clarity, confidence in actionable strategies to grow. But today, I want to talk more about how we can adapt to the shifting tides of our professional world through upskilling and reskilling. The world of work is evolving, as we all know, it's all evolving now at an incredible pace for that matter, and technology is at the axis of that change. According to the World Economic Forum, 50% of all employees will need reskilling by 2025. And you can see that this data is now, we are in 2025, and this change is occurring due to the adoption of new technologies, and that's half of the workforce. And let's be clear, this isn't just for those working in tech. From retail to healthcare, from education to finance, automation, AI, digital transformation, and impact are impacting every sector, regardless of which industry you're working at. Technology and digital, the current digital age is having an impact on everything. And I can personally relate to this because when I started my career in IT, I didn't envision myself talking about upskilling, reskilling, or digital literacy. My background is in IT operations, business management, and coaching. And over time, I've seen firsthand how essential it is to adapt and keep learning. So today, success isn't just about degrees or experiences. It's about how well we can embrace change and evolve alongside technology. So today, I want to talk about how we, especially as women, can position ourselves for success in this digital era by upskilling and reskilling effectively. I'm going to break it down into 3 separate components. And the first one is going to be why upskilling and reskilling matter more than ever. And secondly, how to identify the right skills for the future. And thirdly, practical steps to start upskilling and reskilling today. So to the first one, why upskilling and reskilling matter more than ever? Technology is no longer something in the future. It's here, it's now, and it's transforming everything. So let's think about our daily life, for example. You probably use a smartphone, shop online, or manage your bank accounts digitally. And you might even interact with AI. It might be via Google Assistant, ChatGPT, or an automated customer service chat box. The challenge here is that this digital transformation isn't just changing how we live as human, it's reshaping job markets. McKinsey reports that by 2030, up to 800 million jobs could be displaced due to automation. But here's the flip side. Up to 97 million new jobs will emerge in the fields that didn't even exist before. So we'll start seeing these new technologies and new opportunities coming out. And what does it mean for us? It means we cannot afford to remain stagnant. If we don't evolve with technology, we risk being left behind. So this is why upskilling and reskilling come in. They are not just about keeping up. They are more about staying ahead. So we're not just like keeping up with the trend. We need to stay ahead to be able to adapt effectively. And this takes me to the next one, which is how to identify the right skills for the future. So you might be thinking, oh, I get it, but what exactly should I focus on? The good news is that not every future skills requires you to become a software engineer or a data scientist, because most of the time when I talk about changes in the digital area, most of people just go, oh, do I have to start learning everything about IT from the scratch? No, you don't have to become a software engineer or a data analyst, but digital literacy is a must. And let me break this down into 3 essential categories of skills. So we have the digital and tech skills, soft skills in a digital world, industry-specific digital skills. So talking about the digital and tech skills, basic digital fluency. So things like spreadsheets, data analysis, and cybersecurity awareness, AI and automation tools, understanding basic tools like ChatGPT, can be very valuable. And it's not just about knowing what ChatGPT is how to use it effectively to work for you. And coding, For coding, this isn't mandatory, but understand the basic could give you an edge when you're doing something. Let's say you're a business owner, for example, and your IT personnel is not available, you need to fix something. That basic knowledge of coding can guide you to just update some part of it and then keep it moving rather than waiting. So, but like I said, it's not mandatory, but it's a good skill to have. Moving to the soft skills in a digital world. So adaptability. So this, we can have all of these skills and all of that, but without adaptability, it's difficult to actually implement these things. So can you learn new tools and methods as technology evolves? But that's a very good question. And critical thinking is another soft skills in the digital world. Can you analyze data and make informed decisions based on that? And that takes me to communication as well. In today's remote world or hybrid work environment, being able to communicate effectively online is more crucial than ever, because majority of us now do maybe hybrid kind of working, and some even work from home 100% some of the time. And this is very crucial because being able to bridge that communication that can happen physically is essential for us to be able to do it virtually. So industry-specific digital skills. So which other skills can be essential in this aspect? Depending on your field, you can tailor your learning to your industry, really. So for example, in business, learning digital marketing can give you a hedge as a business owner. In care, maybe get familiar with telemedicine tools and how to use them effectively. In education, we all know e-learning is a big deal now. So embracing e-learning technologies, it's something that is essential for this digital era when it comes to education. And I can personally relate to this. Throughout my career, I've had to keep learning, whether it was mastering new cybersecurity frameworks, coaching individuals to leverage digital tools for career growth, or adapting my teaching method to work with online audiences. The learning never stops, it never stops. And that's the beauty of it. So practical step to start upskilling and reskilling, because I've talked about varieties of components and different skills to look into, but what's the practical ways in achieving this? The first thing you might want to do is assess your current skill gaps. So take a moment to reflect, what skills are you missing? Maybe tools like LinkedIn Learning Assessment or Skillshare courses can help understand where you stand. Another option is to leverage free and affordable learning resources. There are plenty of resources out there, some free, some affordable. A few examples are like Google Digital Garage offers free digital skills training. Coursera and Udemy, they have affordable courses on trending skills. LinkedIn Learning is a fantastic option as well for professional development. And don't forget, yes, YouTube. You can literally learn almost anything for free on YouTube these days. So, and it's not just about learning it, it's about being able to apply what you learn. Learning without action is like planting a seed and never watering it. So if you take a digital marketing course, apply it. Maybe start a blog or help a small business with a social media, or if you're learning coding, build a simple website during your leisure time, because all the time, experience always beats theory. And before I move to my final thoughts, I would like to try to share this slide again. Hopefully this time it's gonna let me. Give me a second. Okay. Yeah, I think it's up now. Can you all see my slides, please? Is it clear? Yes.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. So the time to start is now. And one of the key takeaway I would like you to go with from my presentation is, what is one skill you will commit to learning in the next 30 days? So I want to challenge you. I'm going to challenge myself as well and try to see, after assessing my skills, so what is one skill you will commit to learning in the next 30 days? Write it down and take actions today. And upskilling and reskilling, it empowers us to not just survive, but thrive in the digital era. It's a very good and essential skill to have, especially now. So thank you all for listening, and thank you so much for having me. Happy International Women's Day.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Adefila. That's so true. It's scary, right, about all the potential positions that will be replaced, digitally, and the silver lining that we can still upskill, and the new opportunities available to us, right? I think for us at London Intercultural Centre, we're also very passionate about e-learning, which is why we've got the London Intercultural Academy. And actually our admin will also share the link to that website in the chat in a moment. So please do have a look. Thank you very much, Dr. Adefila.
Thank you
Great.
so much.
My pleasure. Moving on to our next speaker, we've got Emmy Shitara, Harvard Business School Online Community Tokyo Chapter Organizer. And we'll be speaking about some inspiring journeys. Really interesting. Well, welcome, Emmy.
Hello. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Emmy.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for having me. I'm very humbled and delighted to be attended today as one of the distinguished guest speakers with you, everyone. I'm Emmy Stark, Global Mentor, Lead Organizer, and Volunteer Representative for Harvard Business School Online Japan Tokyo Chapter since its founding in 2018. Also serve on the International Board of Advisors for an international education nonprofit organization, United Planet, and advocates for women's rights of SDGs, global goals for many years, and engaged in a part of the G7 in 2023, the year Japan served as the G7 presidency. I spoke on behalf of women and students under the pandemic at the International G7 expert meeting in Tokyo. Also, I was invited online panel at international women's events such as Global Win Conference, which was hosted in Dubai and online globally. I have visited London twice in 2009 and 2011. Also, when I was a young student more than 20 years ago, one of my English teachers at an English conversation school in Tokyo was British. I am an alumna of the United Kingdom's International Leadership Program, WISE International. I'm deeply grateful to my British friends for their continued kind support of my leadership journey so far. So I'd like to join you today as one of the speakers virtually from Japan to express my joy with you everyone on the International Women's Day. Just introducing my background briefly, I was born and raised in Japan. My ancestors have roots in Japan for more than 360 years, and my ancestors and relatives, including priests of local Zen Buddhist temple. I also enjoy Aikido, a martial arts that trains the peaceful mind and body in Japan. Over 20 years ago, I graduated from the university in Tokyo, which has historically educated female leaders for politics and economics in Japan, named Tsuda University. The female founder of our university is now one of the official symbols of Japanese banknotes, as a distinguished role model who was supported by the Empress of Japan at that time. After my graduation, I had worked for a Japan office for a NASDAQ-listed technology company in the United States, and I often traveled to New York to be invited to join global internal meeting on behalf of managing marketing communication in Japan, and made a presentation there. At that time, I was very inspired by the culture of camaraderie and collaboration among female colleagues across countries. With these experiences, I have been cooperating with PR and panel, for example, such as the European Wind Conference in Japan, to improve the environment for supporting female leaders in Japan, which inspired major corporate CEO and the first female governor of Tokyo, Madame Yuriko Koike, before her decision to run for an office in Tokyo. I'm also supporting women leaders by my executive coach. I have been caring and supporting for other Asian Harvard Business School online community since serving for co-founding Tokyo chapter as inaugural chapters globally in 2018. There, I rarely see women with imposter syndrome in our Asian community. I found it's a kind of the myth. We have confidence with growth mindset, indeed. I have cooperated with the Associated Press in interview in the past. At that time, the essence of what I wanted to convey was not covered, unfortunately, and some of my biological information was also incorrectly published. But I wish to point out about the seed of social innovation in Tokyo and the significant need of creating industry for women everywhere in Japan after higher education. According to the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Report, the economic status of women in Japan is still lower, even if they're highly educated. And there are hurdles that make them feel biased in their careers. But I still wish and hope to have my mother country better and easier to live in for women. Therefore, not moved myself to live in lovely London, where I know that there are quite a few Japanese women there and they are more lively. So I started Japan brand communication by myself since 2010, which later it also became an official partner of the United Nations ITU, the Girls in ICT Day Thailand, 2023. Today, I'd like to speak about the topic is Lead for Social Good, what I can share with you in terms of my insights from my experience and my journey. I hope this insight will help those who are in challenging situation now. I'd like to talk about the following 3 points. First, having a bird's eye view, step back and see the whole picture or perspective of an orchestra conductor and take time for self-reflection. Second, mindset that our actions will be seen by future generations. Third, pain is your great powerhouse for your sustained driving force. First, we are often seen as passionate and focused and sometimes winning arguments, but at the same time, it is also important to have the ability to take the bird's eye view of the big picture and the ability to see things from various perspectives or conductor view of orchestra. It is important not only to have discussions with a variety of people, but also to take time for reflection yourself. It's also important to look at things in the time of frame of history, and it makes us think about whether we can be one of the wonderful role models who will inspire to the future generations. This is my brief. Second, leadership. Be yourself. Your mission is not no one else. Respect your roots. The time of our lives is limited. So demonstrate your gifted ability or potential of leadership to act without being bound by your current or past position. Since your sincere, authentic actions and initiative will influence other powerful leaders, which will cause greater actions afterwards, indeed. In my experience, this has happened a lot in various situations. Having understand with diverse perspectives, find common good, then you can influence others to do the actions. It's a very meaningful to be one of the first courageous people to join in an important mission for a better society that is beneficial to people. At the same time, depending on the location, there is still cultural unconscious bias for leadership by women. To overcome these bias challenges, always be aware of empowering yourself to seek better, efficient way. You have the clues for yourself in your daily lives. It's essential to build up your strengths and demonstrate it in the long term. When you are young, such as in your 20s, it will be better for you to have a good professional mentor to support and guide your development. Third, be aware of your strengths, what others admire. Especially if you are a minority in your society, you might often feel frustrated that your great vision is being underutilized because of unconscious societal biases that limit your ability to put into the real practice. To face these challenges, I often seek for good partners who support or resonate with your vision to sustainable future. The important thing is that pain is one of the long-term driving forces that sustains you to transform our real lives healthier indeed. And it's important to be aware of your strengths that others recognize and admire, and to focus on strengthening your strengths, not focusing on what you cannot do, just focus on what you can do. If you are a mentor or investors, it could be better to find and support gifted people who have such a pain, since they work very hard persistently with passionate, authentic, which lead social innovation all over the world, indeed. Thank you very much for your attention. Happy International Women's Day. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Emmy. Apologies, my camera's off. I just have to charge the laptop for a bit. So, Emmy, that's really inspirational. You know, what you said about pain is your powerhouse for your driving force. I absolutely love that, and I think it's so connected to finding your why, right? What really drives you to reach those goals. Thank you so much. So our next speaker, and again, ladies and gentlemen, I do apologize about being behind on time. So we bear with you. You know, it's a really fantastic event so far. To bear with us a bit longer to cover all the speakers. So we've got Jordana Damjanowska with us, also discussing some inspiring journeys, personal stories, of women who have overcome barriers and achieved success. Jordana is a clinical pharmacologist. Handing over to you, Jordana, if you're with us. Jordana, can you hear me? Okay, I think there was a possibility. Oh, hi, Jordana.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes. Good afternoon. First of all, let me officially, in the brackets, congratulate the International Women's Day. And I'm very glad that I can speak in presence of such an inspirational woman when with the different experiences and some topics that were chosen about the digitalization as a tool, but also a possible master, and all those numbers which at different points are a little bit mix our thoughts. So from my experience, digitalization actually was a prerequisite for specialization as well for my PhD status, because what I am doing, the different clinical studies need handling a huge amount, a huge quantity of data. So I'm not of that generation that has do that all manually, but a little bit of a transitional generation that has done handling with the data manually and turned to the digital handling, and also let me say a woman that has lived, as I like to say, the COVID era, which in a way has changed the world in most culturological, sociological, even more civilization manner, before the COVID and after COVID. And what has been our new normal, I think that might very quickly, I don't want to sound too pretentious or too scary, but very quickly into new abnormal, taking into consideration that tsunami of information that we are overloaded each day. So the most important thing at this moment, I think, and this conference, and also this inspirational woman, the thoughts they have shared are going into one direction. We need to have focus. We need to have lots of filters. We need to have media literacy and use the best of the digital tools that are at our exposure now. Especially, we need to state lots and lots of time that as there is a human intelligence, artificial intelligence, as well as digitalization are our tools. The moment that they will, let me say, overcome that border and become our master is a time when we need to think how we can, as the speaker previously said, how we can reshape, how we can reswitch and still be a human, normal, female, intelligent, more intelligent women. So maybe this was not a structured presentation. It is only my share of thoughts. Nothing that I have been, let me say, searching for, structuring for, but let me say a personal experience in a country where actually at the moment, I don't know whether we are talking about the globalization and the big village, or we are talking about the globalization in forward and back, where we are going each in our shell, and at the top of it we had lots of shells and digitalization and artificial intelligence, a little bit of tricky civilization order, but here we are as a human being, as a women that do contribute to the society, do contribute to the civilization with its existence at first, and after that with all the things that we are doing every day, to find a way how to keep the balance, move forward, and actually grab those digital tools and the whole digitalization in our use. That means in our benefit. How we should, let me say, aggregate through our brain all those data, use the digital tools that we have, and that will all be in make it all be in our benefit. Yes, those 7 million different jobs, a reshaping will be a necessary thing. Reshaping of the civilization order or streamline is something that is natural. Maybe at this moment it is more quick. The spiral is going with high speed, but actually at the top and on the bottom are human people. So reshaping is something that is normal for whole civilization. Those shapes that we can make are most important. Shapes that are something like a civilization wave and historical wave, if we might say, is something that is necessary, something that is not determined, but as history has taught us, it's something that is in nature of human being. But what is in our power is to have a driving seat and to have the circle in front of us, to be aware of what is happening and to know where we go and what we are doing. That is most important at this point, to make that line and actually said, this is reality. This is something that we want to make a reality. This is something that is unreal, but might quite easily become real, and so on and so on. But at the end of the day, as this conference says, we are a human being. We are talking, communicating, sharing, which I think is a quite effective defense or mechanism that enable us go through this time and approach the whole things that are overwhelming us at this moment ready and with quite a determined focus. I hope that this a little bit more freely share of thoughts helped or maybe had a little bit introduced us into what has been our new next step to the civilization era. Thank you very much, and to all the colleagues, or the women, all the sisters, all the mothers. Happy International Women's Day, and thank you for organizing this conference and enable us to share our thoughts, which are different, but at the end of the day, they are all the same. We are human that needs to go to bed, and after 8 or 6 or 5 hours, depending, we are going in the new morning, the new day, the new era, and it is good when you know that you have lots of different women that share common sense for this.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jordana. That's great. Oh, there's a little bit of a echo. Okay, I think we're good. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jordana. You're right. I think it really feels the world has changed a lot since COVID. And yeah, absolutely. A tsunami of information, as you said. It's hard to keep up. We have to remember to stay human, indeed. Good. So we are now going to have two videos, actually, for some two more wonderful speakers who have kindly recorded videos for us. First, we're going to start with Fiona Banister, CEO, chairman, investor, impact finance catalyst, and global innovation strategist, who has kindly recorded us a video on another inspiring journey. So our admin will play that now.
It's an opportunity today to thank so many women in the world, including my mothers. I have two. I'm a very lucky, blessed one. I have many sisters, and I have two beautiful daughters that gift me every time lessons and teach me humility. It's been a journey. I have traveled and lived and worked in so many continents. I have had the opportunity to work in Africa, exposing myself to poverty, the HIV virus communities where I worked in, helping women, or they helped me understand how empowered their lives were. I worked as a political journalist in Asia. I climbed up into the north of northern Ladakh. I worked with children and women that were being traded or trafficked in refugee camps. And each time I feel like I'm honored to see the strength of women, the strength of their sisterhood and their knowledge, and how we could share together to empower the lives and bring education, supporting food security, water, opportunities for us to share seeds of knowledge and that of our food. I talked about how the Vatican, if we followed their request for 1 to 2 days of less meat every week, that would perhaps be able to provide enough food so we could share. When I've worked also with the Dalai Lama and with Shilpa Rinpoche up in Nepal, asking for the Actions for Peace and for the Center for Peace and Policy, that's Nelson Mandela's school. Again, we have to come together and be in a place of knowledge, exchange, multiculturalism. And I'm calling in today from the deserts zone of Dubai in the UAE, where we are looking at how do we find water to feed everybody and supply it. This happens to be some of the newest technology in the world. This is water from air that comes in from a system that could be affordable, accessible to many different families around the world, and we could be able to provide access to clean water for women and children and communities to be able to use this technology to feed themselves or to utilize it in other areas. Again, tech is very important these days. We have natural hydrogen here in one hand, and we have graphene in another hand here. Graphene can be used from waste to energy, like a company like mintenergy.com, where they are taking graphene waste and moving it through into making graphene batteries that can last 100 years. Hydrogen, natural hydrogen, so that it comes from the earth and also can hold back some of the nutrients of the earth so that we could make more green, ethical, balanced steel and areas that we need for humanity. It's been a journey, not only for myself, but through the years of collaborating. Here is some of the work in the last few years. Decarbonize.org is one of the wonderful nonprofits that I co-created with a group of Indigenous community leaders to look at catalyzing solutions for technology, for ocean, food protection, healthcare, and Indigenous rights and multi-stakeholder holding. This past 4 years, Decarbonized competed in the X Prize Rainforest Conservation Prize, which looked at using the most advanced technology, AI, drones, tech for good, NASA, 19 different groups of universities, students, shamanic, healers, engineers, Indigenous leaders, and then these communities work together to collaboratively take technology and manage and look at how we could mitigate, measure, and also perform accurate analysis to protect planet Earth. So we worked from the satellites down into the communities. Here we are in the semifinals of the xprize.org rainforest competition, where we were working with Hector Vargas, the renowned environmental support anthropologist and environmental lawyer who's working in Ecuador to collaboratively work on conservation for the Yasuni and the other tribal communities that are losing their lands, their water, and their resources. And how do we gain back land entitlement? How do we empower the young girls to be educated to protect their forests? And they're teaching us. I am learning from them. We can learn together from the communities and the people that are the strong protectors of Mother Earth. As we look further, we've been doing microfinance. Nantar Inga here, she runs her own programs, and she's a community leader in Ecuador. We have Maria Clara Charupa Jua, who is an empowered leader, philosopher, author, and activist to protect her communities and teach as she goes forwards in the communities into what I call general knowledge, but general knowledge that affects the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And in our goals, we can look at some of the areas, the education, the key elements of education. Part of it is reactions, and from my own knowledge and understanding from this endeavor was working on forest labs, making it affordable, acceptable, and viable to include Indigenous women, Indigenous wisdoms, but also whether it be in the core of Africa, into Asia, looking up into the northern part of the Yukon, different wisdoms of what is it to have an understanding of value of our medicine, our food, our water, the light, the sun, and to embrace it for us all. It was a very complex competition. We worked with different girls and women and children around the globe, as well as the men. Yes, we celebrated enjoying the opportunity to have them collaboratively work in engineering, work in the robotics, the drones, and we effectively were able to come in and do water tests. So in one small test that we were able to see in the water samples from the soil, we were able to measure over 100 contaminants and areas, whether it be vitamins, nutrients, also the chemicals, also the glycosates, the areas which weren't good for our drinking water. And how do we as a collective community take science and utilize it so it's effectively good and empowered and can propagate? The term propagate meaning that to pollinate, to share the knowledge to each other. So some of our work was extensive. We worked with NASA. We looked at satellites footage. We looked with sound propagation, 500 varieties of birds, the advanced AI that could look at the sounds of not just the birds, but the crickets, the bats, and even when a toad was distressed and couldn't find its mate. Or we could also hear when a chainsaw was coming through a forest, or there was refugee and resilience alerts where we needed to see if it was human trafficking, if it was the time that we need to bring in not just social justice, environmental law, but also the governance of communities, of governments and the United Nations so that we can conserve, protect, and empower humanity together. For me, the work has been also to collaborate with other famous doctors that aren't as much famous as you and I would not know their names. It's those young girls that actually have the power to teach their parents what is malaria, how to be able to protect their families from malaria and other diseases. And they are the next generation. They are the change makers that empower so much of what I, as an educator, I, as a person who's here humbly experience collaboration. And I'm here with partnershipsforchange.org. And we have been working with Jackie Miller and the teams under partnershipsforchange.org and with virtueventures.org. Virtue Ventures is actually capitalizing with Tuquash as the CEO, empowering change makers, working with technology, working with our actions so that we can finance solutions that can catalyze change and bring about a justified, dignified collaboration on this planet. I thank you, and I would like to thank the team from Dr. Hala and all the community women that are participating, and I send you the gift of being alive, thriving, and sharing.
Thank you so much, Fiona, and what wonderful, beautiful work you are doing for the world. So really a heartfelt thank you from the London Intercultural Centre for sharing that with us. Very inspiring indeed.
Well, just wanted to say thank you again. I am in the desert in the United Arab Emirates right now, and it's very dark in the night here, but there has been a wonderful opportunity to share multicultural experiences here and also to send back the empowered vision and listening to such incredible women. And I know that we can incite the gift of sharing and pollination so that we can all grow and share together. Thank you.
What an absolutely incredible 3 hours it's been. So many inspiring stories. You know, as we come to the close on this International Women's Day, I want to thank each and every one of you for your participation, to the wonderful speakers from the centre and the board members. What did we go through today? Well, we've explored the future of female leadership. We discussed topics on gender divide, highlighting the need for a more inclusive world in many industries. We reflected on the importance of mental health and inner peace, resilience. We looked at cybersecurity tips for women, looking at being your authentic self, having integrity, that wonderful mother-child bond, and so much more. It has really been a celebration of progress, recognition of challenges and achievements, and a big call to action for ongoing change in this world. Let's take these insights that we've shared today, continue to uplift, support, and advocate for one another beyond this room. So thank you so much again to the incredible participants, speakers, organizers, and most importantly, to all of you for being part of this journey. Happy International Women's Day again from us. Wishing you a fantastic weekend. And please do visit our website for future events and the courses that we offer as well through the Academy. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.